What's up, guys? Don't forget to smash that like button, drop a comment, hype up the video, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe and join the family. Our story begins with monsters chasing people who run in desperation, crying for help and claiming that even a weak beast is extremely terrifying. Some of them end up at the edge of a cliff, saying there is no escape and that they need to hide as quickly as possible. They hide behind a rock as the monster draws closer. A girl is hiding there, trembling, praying with all her strength not to be found and not to be followed in any way, until an aura approaches and the beast notices her in that spot. The girl begins to beg the creature not to do it, but the monster, without thinking twice, devours her. A boy hidden nearby, injured, wonders whether that really is Ghost Star, and thinks that this beginner test is far too difficult. It is said that after using the class change materials, one only needs to survive on Ghost Star for 5 minutes for the change to be completed automatically, but an ordinary person there would probably struggle to survive even for a single minute. The name of this boy is Jiang Kai, and he is currently undergoing the beginner test period on this planet called Ghost Star. Ghost Star is a gigantic celestial body that suddenly appeared in the vicinity of Earth 50 years ago. However, its appearance did not cause any catastrophic disaster capable of knocking Earth out of its orbit. But after Ghost Star emerged, the planet's flora and fauna underwent sudden mutations, transforming into monsters called beast gods and causing widespread destruction across the world. The beast gods are beyond the reach of human technology, and their emergence pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. Even so, during this desperate period, to the survivors' surprise, countless magical portals appeared on Earth. By passing through them, humans could teleport to Ghost Star in digital form. Upon arriving there, they discovered a surreal world that seemed digital, where they could take on various professions. Everyone possessed attributes, equipment, and skills, could level up like game characters and obtain increasingly powerful attributes. They also discovered that by leveling up to a certain point on Ghost Star, this surreal power could be brought back to Earth and used in the real world. In this way, people could become as strong as they were on Ghost Star and even to fight the beast gods with their own physical bodies. In short, if humanity wanted to break free from this terrible situation and survive, it had to obtain power from Ghost Star. People who went to Ghost Star one after another came to be collectively called explorers, and the protagonist, still hidden, thinks that he is the only survivor left there. However, now there is no way to escape. The beast approaches the rock behind which he is hiding, and Jiang wonders if he came to Ghost Star after losing all his belongings just to wait for his own death. Kai then remembers his sister saying that if he wanted to go to Ghost Star, he could go ahead, because she herself and their older brother would work hard to raise the necessary funds. The protagonist's sister, for the sake of this journey, has endured hardships since a young age, while the older brother suffers from kidney failure but continues to work without stopping, because if they cannot gather the money for the surgery within 2 months, the situation will become critical. However, now, he has not even finished his class change and is already there, wasting the family's savings while waiting for it to be completed. When the beast launches its attack, Jiang observes the situation and starts running, thinking that instead of standing still and waiting for death, he would rather bet everything for his family. The monster gets closer and closer and strikes him on the shoulder. Kai thinks that he will gamble on the only chance to survive. He throws himself off the cliff while the beast merely watches the protagonist plummet until a light appears in the air. The system appears, stating that his behavior perfectly aligns with that of a compulsive gambler, and congratulates him for triggering the reaction, obtaining the possibility of acquiring a secret profession, as well as congratulating him for successfully completing the career transition and becoming a glorious and little-known profession, gambler. On the ground, Jiang coughs and feels confused. Upon opening his eyes, he wonders what is happening and why he was not injured after falling off the cliff, and also notices that the injuries he had before have disappeared as well. Immediately after, he receives another system notification informing him that he has successfully completed the foundation change within the time limit, that his basic attributes have been restored, which is equivalent to a complete recovery of health. Kai then asks whether this is a central artificial intelligence that coexists with Ghost Star, and the system replies that it could be said to be so, congratulating him once again for completing the job transition, and informing him that next it will present the talents of the player class. Dual talent: any rewards or punishments received from the system trigger double effects, with a 1% chance to trigger a super double effect. When super double is activated, rewards and punishments are multiplied by 10. As he activates the dual talent simultaneously upon obtaining it, the number of class talents doubles, and he also receives the gambler's second talent. The protagonist is surprised and wonders how this is possible, since others only acquire 1 talent after changing jobs while he receives 2. The system confirms that this is the effect, and presents the current statistics of the second talent, Super Critical, in which critical damage is modified to 200 times, and the initial critical hit rate is set at 0.1%. Jiang remarks that after a job change, the total attributes of an ordinary person usually remain around 20 points, and wonders how he reached 36. New notifications inform him that this is because the dual talent can also double the attribute points granted after a profession change, and Kai wonders whether this can also be duplicated. He then thinks that if that is the case, when leveling up on Ghost Star in the future, an ordinary person gains 10 attribute points per level, while he would gain 20, which would mean evolving twice as fast as others. The system notifies again that his critical damage is modified by 200 times, and that the initial critical hit rate is 0.1%. And the protagonist realizes that, in addition to this, he also possesses the second talent, Super Critical. While other people's critical hits only deal about twice the damage, his deal 200 times more. Although his current critical hit rate is only 1 in 1,000, if he manages to increase it, his future damage will be terrifying. Jiang wonders whether this was the weapon that the facial beast had used earlier and thinks that, before this, he only wanted to complete the job change as quickly as possible to earn money for his older brother's surgery, since even the most humble professions on Ghost Star earn more than on Earth. However, he did not expect to unexpectedly trigger a new job change evaluation and become the hidden and powerful profession of player. Thinking this way, he might be able to quickly gather the money needed for his older brother's medical expenses and allow his family to have a better life. Even so, completing the job change during the beginner test period is only the first step, because the next objective is to complete the main test mission. Reach the end of the test area, the City of Sacred Radiance, within 7 days. However, reaching this destination is extremely difficult, since the test area is infested with monsters. If he loses his life, the test fails and he is teleported back to Earth. Although losing one's life on Ghost Star does not harm the physical body on Earth, and it is possible to connect again, this seemingly mild completion penalty is something only the rich can afford. After all, entering Ghost Star requires a great deal of money. The rich have countless chances to make mistakes, but for someone poor like him, he must succeed on the very first attempt with no second chances. Just then, Jiang notices something. A very loud noise is rapidly approaching. Kai hides behind a tree and thinks that it is an extremely familiar scream. The monster opens its enormous mouth as a desperate young man cries out for help, and he immediately recognizes that voice as belonging to his longtime friend, Yuan Zhu. The protagonist realizes that he is surrounded by earth snakes and thinks that these creatures are extremely venomous, since a single bite is enough to kill someone, and there are 3 of them there. He shouts to Yuan not to be afraid, saying that he is already coming, and Jiang charges forward with his spear. Yuan asks what he is doing there and tells him not to worry about him, that he can run away because these snakes have high attributes and deadly poison, and they, still at level 1, have no chance of defeating them. Kai keeps advancing and kills one of the snakes with a single attack. Zhu is shocked and asks if he really managed to kill a snake. The protagonist, still in motion, thinks that using his partner to draw the snake's attention and then attacking from behind was extremely effective, but now he himself becomes the target as the others continue to close in. Yuan says that everything is over, claiming that these snakes are very agile. Jiang manages to dodge the attack of one of them, and Zhu becomes even more surprised, asking if he really escaped that. Kai thinks that after the class change, his attributes doubled, and that, even at level 1, his agility is already comparable to that of someone at level 2, so the agility of these level 1 earth snakes does not even come close to his. He shouts for Yuan to keep drawing their attention. Then the weapon moves swiftly, and the remaining snakes are eliminated one after another. Yuan remains incredulous and says that he was only serving as bait while it was Jiang who killed them all. The protagonist feels relieved and thinks that his profession is clearly focused on agility, with little strength, but with enough damage to instantly eliminate level 1 monsters. He concludes that the steel spike obtained from the face beast can be good equipment to increase strength in the beginner zone, since in Ghost Star, strength directly equals attack power. Zhu comments that he always heard that beginners usually only lose their lives to monsters and asks how a beginner can manage to kill them, also questioning how Jiang did it. Jiang replies that he was lucky with his profession and became a gambler, but makes it clear that this cannot be told to anyone else. Yuan asks what a gambler is and says that although he does not really understand the meaning, his own profession is not bad since he became a warrior. Kai replies that it is no wonder he managed to survive for so long facing 3 snakes, since warrior is one of the top 5 professions in the Kingdom of Sacred Radiance. He explains that the first thing all explorers do upon entering Ghost Star is change their profession, and that this change normally depends on the transition materials purchased before entry. Rich people usually spend tens of millions to acquire efficient materials, allowing them to directly change into powerful professions as soon as they arrive on Ghost Star, such as warrior, soldier, and executioner. Poor people, on the other hand, can only afford the cheapest materials, which are extremely crude, and there is also the possibility that the class change occurs randomly. The protagonist comments that a class change material for warrior costs 50 million and asks whether Yuen borrowed money from loan sharks. Ju replies that this was not possible and says that it is a long story, promising to explain later. Jiang confirms if he is serious and says that they need to quickly collect the snake's corpses because he heard that even monster bodies can be sold for money. He thinks that in Ghost Star, many obtained items can be exchanged for money and that he also needs to earn resources there to help his family. Items such as bodies and equipment from Ghost Star turn into cards after being dropped, making collection and sale easier. From the battle that just occurred, the player profession seems much stronger than the warrior profession. At that moment, someone approaches, and the two are startled. It is a woman who introduces herself as Su Nuanuan, saying that it is extremely difficult to pass the trial alone and asking if she can form a team with them. The protagonist apologizes and says that they can barely take care of themselves, and that bringing her along could be dangerous. Su interrupts him and asks them not to leave her alone, explaining that her profession is medic, that she can heal them and also extract venom from snakes like those to enhance weapon attacks. Ju comments that the ability to cure poison is really useful, and Zhang thinks that this is also one of the top 10 advanced professions. Healing is extremely necessary during the beginner test period after all. If he had not taken advantage of the class change to restore his health earlier, he probably would have already lost his life. He then formally introduces himself and proposes that they join forces to proceed together to the destination, and Nuan thanks him. Yuen teases, saying that he only changed his mind because he's a pervert, and Kai replies that he wants to beat him up. Meanwhile, on Earth, in the city of Jiangzhong, in the Kingdom of Sacred Radiance, at the base of Ghost Star login portal number 18, inside the Data Research Laboratory, an analyst comments that the current wristwatches are truly amazing, as they can accurately locate explorers on Ghost Star. Someone approaches and states that this is natural, since most watches sold on the market today can detect various Ghost Star data, and the more advanced the watch, the richer its functions. It is Su Lanlin, instructor of the beginner test, who asks how the newcomers are doing and how her sister is. The analyst replies that based on the current positioning of beginner wristwatches, many novices have already been finalized and that her sister seems to have joined 2 people. Lan asks if she is shy and looking for someone to form a team, and comments that she should repeatedly warn her that newcomers should avoid grouping up, because the more people participate in the beginner test, the greater the risk. Meanwhile, in the forest, the 3 move forward together until beasts appear, and it is not just one. 3 minutes later, the analyst confirms that 2 face beasts have been detected near her sister. Lan states that a single face beast is already enough to massacre novices, and that facing 2, her sister has practically no chance of survival. She comments that finalization in Ghost Star, although similar to characters losing their lives in a game and causing no physical damage to the body on Earth, generates an extremely realistic experience capable of causing severe psychological impacts, and says that she will take her to undergo psychological therapy. The analyst asks her to wait, saying that her sister does not yet seem to have been finalized, which leaves Lan surprised. Then he states that those 2 face beasts appear to have both been finalized, and Lan, extremely shocked, asks how this is possible. Returning to 3 minutes earlier, the beasts advance. Ju runs in fear, asking what that is, and Nuan, also running, replies that it seems to be a face beast. The protagonist runs along, looks back, and thinks that the others are not as agile as he is and will certainly end up being caught, until Jiang stops running and orders them to keep going forward. Yuen becomes worried, but Kai insists that they continue, while thinking that if they keep fleeing like that, all 3 will end up being finalized. Only he can stay behind to try to face the face beast. The protagonist advances, attacks the creature with his spear, and keeps striking until one of the beast's hands hits him and violently throws him against a rock. Jiang thinks that the face beast's health is extremely high and that he still cannot defeat it with just 1 blow. The 2 beasts approach, and Kai wonders if he will lose his life there, thinking that his beginner test has come to an end. Su, crying, says that he is in danger and that they need to go back to save him, while Ju remains paralyzed by fear. On Earth, still in the city of Jiangzhong, in a residential area, an elderly woman asks if he is the benefactor who provided the materials for Ju the warrior's job change, and says that she does not understand why he has such a positive evaluation of Ju since he seems strong and tall, but is actually quite timid. She comments that if he encountered a monster on Ghost Star, he probably would not even have the courage to fight. Then the man in the hat says that her son, when facing danger, is even more cowardly than an ordinary person. However, he observes that sometimes No matter how frightened he is, whenever he sees someone in need of help, the boy never retreats or runs away. Back in the forest, Ju attacks the two beasts with a powerful blow, forcing them to retreat. He then asks his partner if he was treated like a stranger, saying that he was protected because he was timid, and states that they are brothers, and that brothers exist to face everything together. The protagonist looks on in shock, stands up, and Yuan clenches his fist and charges again at the enemy, causing an intense impact. Jiang, surprised, wonders if his partner can really face a face beast head-on, and, although the damage is not high, realizes that this constant control is precisely the characteristic of a true warrior. Kai begins to recover and realizes that it is Su using her skill on him. The protagonist asks what she is doing there and comments that she is not a combat profession. Nuon replies that she will not leave, because when a medic encounters someone injured, no matter how scared she is, she cannot simply run away. She thinks that her father in the past sacrificed himself fighting against the monstrous tide precisely due to a lack of medical support, and now her companions need that support, so there is no way to abandon them and escape. Jiang realizes that his injury is already healed and comments that she really is not afraid of being finalized. He thinks that even with the three of them together, their damage is still not enough to eliminate a face beast, until Kai asks them to wait. He remembers Su mentioning that if they encountered venomous snakes like those, she could also extract the venom to increase a weapon's attack power. The protagonist asks whether she said earlier that she could extract snake venom, and Nuon replies that yes, she did. Jiang then summons a snake and asks if she can heal Ju while enchanting his weapon with the creature's venom. Nuon says she does not know if she can manage both at the same time, but that she will try her best. She begins extracting the venom and applying it to the weapon, and Kai thinks that this is their only way out because, if he's not mistaken, this method can really work. At the moment, they cannot withstand the direct damage of a face beast, but he can endure it, and although his attack is still not enough to kill it alone, her healing can make up for that gap. Seen this way, the three of them clearly form a standard team of tank, healer, and damage dealer, exactly like in a game. The venom enchantment is completed, and Jiang wonders what is wrong with newcomers being weak. He tells his partner to hold one of the face beasts under control by himself. Ju clenches his fist, mana enveloping his entire body, and charges forward, thinking that as long as the three of them form a team and each fulfills their role properly, there is still hope. The protagonist advances immediately after, thinking that even though they are called novice killers, face beasts can still be fought. An explosion occurs, and one of the beasts is finalized, making Jiang instinctively smile. He thinks that they did it, that it worked, but then realizes that there is still one beast left alive. Kai notices that teamwork is truly effective, and even facing another enemy, they continue advancing together. While the protagonist and Yuan attack the monster head-on, Nuon continuously releases her healing abilities on the two of them. After that, in the laboratory, Lan asks whether, according to the bracelet data, they really eliminated two face beasts, commenting that just one would already be enough to massacre an entire group of newcomers, and questioning how the three managed to achieve such a feat. The analyst replies that, according to the data, Nuon has no offensive capability at all, and the warrior on the team also deals little damage, so considering this information, the one responsible for the kills can only be someone named Jiang. However, the strange thing is that they cannot identify his profession. Lan asks how they cannot track his profession and how that is possible, questioning who someone capable of eliminating two face beasts without their class appearing in the records could be. At that moment, the system notifies that the player Kai collected the face beast's corpse. The three lie down on the ground, exhausted but relieved to have survived. Ju comments that he did not expect his partner to be so resourceful in a crisis, and says that it was truly impressive. Nuon states that now that they already have the strength to face face beasts, they should be able to reach the end of the trial without much difficulty. Yuan agrees and says they can head straight for the end and complete the test. The protagonist asks them to stay calm and not rush, explaining that there is still plenty of time to reach the final destination, Shangyao City, and that they should not act recklessly. He explains that after passing the test, points will be calculated, and if they manage to rank among the top 3, the military will reward them with equipment. It is said that the equipment provided by the military is of excellent quality and greatly helps novices develop on Ghost Star. Now that they already have enough strength to defeat monsters, killing them yields points. And with enough points, there is a real chance of placing in the top 3. He then asks why not defeat monsters first to accumulate points and only afterwards seek the military rewards. The two are surprised and at the same time confused by the proposal. A few hours later, it is already dark and a voice asks whether this method really earns points. Ju comments that although he is not afraid, he is constantly being used as bait to attract so many earth snakes, and asks whether he will not end up losing his life first. The protagonist tells him to have courage, after all. He is a warrior, and his specialty is precisely attack and defense. Moreover, Nuon can heal them at any time. The snakes advance from behind Yuan, and at that very moment, Jiang leaps and cuts them down with precision, eliminating 3 earth snakes at once. The rules of Ghost Star state that only the one who performs the kill receives the praise experience. And since at the moment only he has the real capacity to eliminate monsters quickly, everyone decides to let him take the experience alone for now. More snakes appear, emitting strange sounds, and Kai moves swiftly, executes precise strikes, and eliminates them one after another, thinking that this strengthens the team and ensures everyone's safety. One day later, the system congratulates the explorer Jiang, informing him that his experience has reached 100, his level rises to 2, and the double effect is activated, granting doubled attribute points upon leveling up. Kai finds this incredible because, after eliminating earth snakes all day long, he finally reaches level 2. Su congratulates him on his advancement, and Yuan also becomes excited, asking him to say what his attributes are after leveling up. The protagonist replies that he added 20 attribute points upon leveling up, and that currently at level 2, his total attributes amount to 56 points, which he considers acceptable. The two are shocked. Ju comments that he knows leveling up only increases strength, constitution, agility, and spirit, but that normal people only gain 10 attribute points per level, so he asks whether Jiang really gained 20. Nuon observes that with a total of 56 attribute points at level 2, this is already comparable to someone at level 4, which is frighteningly strong. Jiang replies that it is nothing special, just a characteristic of his profession, which can double rewards such as leveling up, but that if there are penalties, they can also be doubled, asking them to keep this secret. Su says that she does not understand it very well, but that this profession seems truly powerful, while Yuan comments that, compared to that, his warrior profession no longer seems so impressive. At that moment, the system sends another notification, informing that upon reaching level 2, players receive a professional skill, but due to the activation of the doubling talent of the gambler profession, he receives 2 skills. The protagonist wonders whether professional skills obtained by leveling up can also be duplicated and concludes that he now possesses 2 professional skills. Yuan is surprised and asks whether his own skills could also be doubled, while Su comments that this is truly strong. The system then notifies that the first professional skill is Ghost Hand Card Throw, in which when throwing items, the penetration effect increases by 20%, and when throwing card-type items, except item cards, the penetration effect increases by 200%. However, spirit consumption increases by 100%, and it is a skill that can be upgraded. The second professional skill is Ghost Eye Focus, also called Ghost Eye Fire, which increases visual range and ocular tracking capability by 50%, with a 100% increase in spirit consumption while in use, and it can also be upgraded. Jiang comments that both seem to be skills oriented toward long-range attacks, saying that he does not yet know exactly how to use them, but that this indicates the gambler is a long-range damage profession, which pleases him greatly. Now that he is stronger, the group can hunt monsters that grant more experience points. 2 days later in the laboratory, the analyst comments that more than 2 days have already passed, and that he did not expect her sister to still be alive. Lan says that newcomers being able to survive as a team indicates that Jiang possesses some special ability. At that moment, someone approaches and informs those responsible for the novice zone that the beginner test is in imminent danger, ordering that alert levels be raised immediately. The two are surprised, and a voice explains that the higher-ups have detected that another country has once again sent infiltrators to invade the novice zone, constituting a large-scale infiltration, something extremely rare, and that they need to prepare immediately. It is the supreme commander of the city, Wei Ying. Lan asks whether the large-scale infiltration of clandestines is real. Wei sighs and replies that if it were a lie, he would not be there. Lan thinks that the situation is grave, because clandestines are special professionals from other countries, specialized in massacring foreign immigrants and preventing their development. Since the rules of the Ghost Star beginner test determine that high-level players cannot enter the test zone to help novices, everyone must complete the test on their own. However, the exclusive clandestine profession is different, because it allows them to use their characteristics to infiltrate novice zones of other countries, without this being preventable. In addition, clandestines use cruel methods to massacre newcomers, inflicting extremely terrifying finalization experiences, with the goal of traumatizing novices so that they become afraid to enter Ghost Star again, drastically reducing the number of new players in other countries. Lan slams her hand on the table and comments that her sister has a very low tolerance, especially when facing those beasts. Ying sighs and says to prepare psychological follow-up for the newcomers because since a rare, large-scale invasion of clandestines has occurred, they must consider the possibility that in this beginner test, there may be no survivors. Meanwhile, inside the forest, the three continue walking together until the protagonist senses something strange. Yuan asks what is wrong, and Jiang replies that there is something there. Zhu questions what he is doing, saying that they have just passed through that place, while Su states that there is nothing there. Kai answers that no, it is farther over there. The protagonist throws his spear, causing a heavy impact accompanied by a loud noise, then says that he understands and asks them to go check it out. Yuan comments that there is nothing to see and asks what could have been hit, wondering if he has gone crazy. Shortly after, still inside the forest, the system notifies that Jiang has eliminated a wild boar. Zhu is surprised and asks if he has water eyes, if he managed to see a boar from such a great distance, while Su comments that he could even eliminate a level 2 boar. Kai retrieves his spear and says there is nothing surprising about it, explaining that this is thanks to his new abilities. More notifications appear informing the collection of the corpse of a short-spined wild boar and 19 short boar spines, which can be used as weapons. The protagonist thinks that his current professional skill, Phantom Hand Card Throw, increases the damage of thrown projectiles, and that Phantom Ocular Focus works as if adding a telescope combined with a slow-motion effect, allowing his attacks to reach longer distances with greater precision. This means that he can now take down enemies from afar before low-level creatures can even detect him. Jiang comments that he is close to reaching level 3 and says they should go hunt monsters elsewhere. Zhu sighs and replies that he is still stuck at level 1. At that moment, a voice comments that the team is really very lucky. Someone watches Kai and his team pass by and says that he did not expect to find such a surprise so soon after arriving, stating that now they can have some fun. The protagonist asks who they are. A young man steps forward and tells them not to be afraid, saying that they are not bad people, they just want to open their chests, hang them up and let them bleed until they dry, or maybe skin them and attract face beasts to lick them slowly until the finalization. Several men surround the three. Then someone emerges from the water and comments that he is summarizing, because this time, the bosses have only one objective. Jiang does not understand what he means. The person who comes out of the water smiles and introduces himself as a clandestine passenger, captain of the second team, stating that he is there to ensure that no newcomer from Sheng manages to pass the test. Su says that she knows this type of person, clandestines specialized in massacring newcomers. The two are frightened, and Nuan adds that she also noticed that all of them are level 3 or above, with even someone at level 5. The protagonist thinks that these numbers are not just words, wonders if level 5 explorers really exist, and concludes that with his current attributes, he can at most compete with someone at level 4. The clandestines begin to approach. Jiang moves quickly and realizes that he has no choice but to act. He tells the two to stay together, that they will split up and run for now. They start running. The captain sneers, asking whether getting into trouble and scattering so quickly is the behavior of cowards, and whether all people from Sheng act this way. He orders 2 people to eliminate that coward who ran off alone, leaving the others to the main force, which will be responsible for slowly torturing the rest. Deeper in the forest, Kai keeps running without stopping while 2 men chase him, commenting that he is fast but will soon be caught. Suddenly, they look ahead and no longer see him, becoming confused, searching around and asking if he's playing hide and seek, saying that this makes everything more exciting and that when they find him, they will cut off his feet first. At that moment, a weapon is thrown. One of the men catches it and asks if that child still intends to resist, stating that he can easily defend against the attacks of any novice. In the next instant, he is struck head-on and thrown far away. His partner looks on in shock until an explosion occurs. The villain asks why he was thrown so far and whether he is all right. When he realizes what happened, his companion has already been finalized and he asks how this is possible. The protagonist, still hidden, comments that he lost his life with just 1 strike and asks if this is how a clandestine behaves, saying that they are not as strong as he imagined. The villain, seized by panic, asks if he is not a novice from Sheng and how he managed to eliminate a level 3 teammate. The clandestine checks his attributes and becomes even more frightened, saying that his total attributes at level 3 are only 45 points. He asks whether that novice has around 60 total attribute points, questioning how that is possible. Jiang throws him away and finalizes him in an instant. He thinks that he succeeded, that his total attributes, comparable to those of a level 4 explorer, were enough to eliminate a level 3 clandestine. He had suggested splitting up precisely to lure some clandestines and eliminate them. There is still a bit of experience missing to reach level 3, and according to what he learned on Earth, eliminating explorers grants a lot of experience. The system notifies that he has successfully eliminated an explorer, informing that he can take the defeated player's bracelet and, before the corpse dissipates, choose whether he wants to loot the experience. He eliminated 2 level 3 explorers and can collect 100 experience points from each. For every point looted, he will receive double that experience. Kai thinks that in this way he can freely accumulate experience and that eliminating explorers yields far more than eliminating monsters. He decides to loot 100 experience points from each. The system congratulates him on reaching level 3, and his total attributes now add up to 76 points, while level 5 clandestines probably have only around 60. Jiang takes the watch of the finalized clandestine and moves forward, thinking that he finally has enough strength to go back and save Ju and the others. Elsewhere in the forest, Yuan and Su are injured, surrounded by clandestines. They comment that one is a martial artist and the other a medic, saying that they did not expect to encounter 2 high-level professions from Sheng so early on, professions of such quality. They state that they should torture them to the end. Even injured, Nuwon continues healing Ju. She comments that their partner is being chased by 2 clandestines and wonders whether he will really come back. Yuan replies that he certainly will because, although his brother usually runs away when it comes to chasing girls, when friends or family are in danger, no matter how desperate the situation is, the clandestine states that the foreplay is over and that now they will skin them alive. At that moment, the protagonist approaches enveloped in an overwhelming aura, causing the clandestines to start coughing as they are struck by invisible spikes. Ju says that he knew he would come back. The clandestine captain asks who is there, whether it is the one who fled earlier, and orders him to come out and face him. He thinks that he cannot see him and has no idea where he is, even wondering whether Sheng has developed a new profession capable of entering the beginner zone. Faced with this, he decides that they need to retreat. The clandestine starts to flee and Su warns that he is trying to escape. Jiang approaches and asks whether, after torturing his brother, he now intends to simply leave. Kai releases his weapon, which pierces the enemy's body, and Ju drops to his knees. The protagonist says that all the clandestines have been eliminated and asks how they are. Su replies that he finally came back, but says that her brother is seriously injured and that she can no longer heal him. Yuan coughs and says that he knew Kai would return, but adds that this time he thinks he cannot go on. He adds that no matter what happens, their adventures together are his most precious memories, and that from now on, each of them must carry their own responsibility and strive to pass the trial. Nuwon starts crying, and Jiang lowers his head, asking what the hell he is even complaining about. He explains that he deliberately only finalized 2 clandestines, and that if they finish them off quickly and collect experience to level up, they will then be able to recover with full health. Su agrees, saying that on Ghost Star it is possible to gain experience and level up by eliminating explorers. Yuan comments that then he was not pretending for nothing. Kai says that he already knew this and sums it up by saying that since that group of clandestines just tortured them, while they eliminate them, they can repay them in kind and show what divine retribution means. A clandestine asks whether that is not a bit excessive. The protagonist asks if it really is and replies that in Sheng this is called repaying favors, a traditional virtue. Ju comments that if this is a virtue, then they should demonstrate it to the fullest. The clandestine wonders what kind of demons these people are. At that moment, in the Data Research Institute of the Clandestine Passenger Department of another country, some voices comment that this is far too terrifying because a newcomer from Sheng has just eliminated all of them. He was even more ruthless than they themselves, stole their experience, and even caused them to lose a level. High-ranking officials of that country question what is happening, stating that the clandestines are being humiliated in defeat and asking whether Sheng has developed a new profession capable of countering them. Meanwhile, in Sheng, the analyst comments that the situation is not good at all because, judging by the bracelet data that Nuwon transmitted earlier, she and her team certainly encountered clandestines. Lan shows concern and Wei sighs, saying that no newcomer has ever escaped the clandestines and that they should prepare for psychological counseling before finalization. The analyst clarifies that this is not what he meant and explains that according to the data, Nuwon and the others not only did not lose their lives after encountering the clandestines, but also leveled up. Everyone is shocked. Ying asks how this is possible, encountering clandestines, surviving and still leveling up, questioning whether the clandestines were helping them kill monsters. The analyst replies that no, stating that if Nuwon had only leveled up once, it would still be plausible to imagine that it was from killing monsters. But the data show that she leveled up twice consecutively. He then asks whether there is any logical explanation, suggesting that Nuwon and the others eliminated a group of clandestines. A cup falls to the ground and Lan calls out to the commander loudly. Wei, visibly shaken, orders them to immediately display Nuwon's team data. An electronic sound echoes, and the data of the 3 members appear on the screen. Ying comments that they really reached level 3 and that without eliminating clandestines, it would be impossible to gain 2 levels in such a short time. Lan says that this makes no sense, because Nuon is a non-combat profession, and a martial artist's damage is low in the early stages, questioning whether Jiang crippled all the clandestines by himself and saying that this is far too exaggerated. Wei replies that his intuition tells him it was definitely that Kai, but that his level and profession are unknown, and asks what is going on. The analyst explains that he discovered the reason Jiang's information is inaccessible, saying that all explorers who enter Ghost Star must use a bracelet to register data. However, Kai uses a first-generation bracelet, whose server stopped receiving maintenance more than a decade ago, making the connection unstable and his records almost impossible to access. Lan comments in disbelief that in the 21st century someone is still using such an old bracelet. Ying says that this is interesting and orders them to collect all information about Jiang in the real world because he wants to know exactly what kind of boy he is. In another part of the forest, Yuan celebrates having fully recovered his health after leveling up, while Su also shows excitement at having advanced. Ju asks whether she also acquired the professional skill Earthshaker Stomp, saying that he can now repel nearby enemies and that it is very strong. Nuon replies that she activated the professional skill Benevolent Healer, making her heals even more effective. The protagonist comments that, as expected of the professional skills of a martial artist and a doctor, they are not flashy but extremely practical. Yuan notes that Kai is already one level above him, and asks whether he can now bully clandestines like he does. Jiang asks what he is thinking and whether he really believes he can face level 3 clandestines, stating that he himself is already level 4 and telling them to look at his attributes. The two are shocked and ask when he reached level 4, saying that he was just level 2 not long ago, and they realize that with a total of 96 attribute points, this is equivalent to a level 8 explorer. Kai explains that when he separated earlier, he eliminated 2 clandestines and reached level 3, and that upon returning he eliminated several more, one of whom was level 5, which allowed him to reach level 4. Yuan complains that he is showing off again and says he cannot take it anymore, while Su asks what they should do next. The protagonist replies that he already has a plan, recalling that he heard the captain say they were the second team of clandestines, and therefore now they will hunt the first team. Half a day later, in a forest of the beginner zone, a voice comments that this seems like an international joke, while the clandestines discuss the fact that some of their members were finalized by newcomers. They are the members of Clandestine Team 1, all at level 5. The team captain orders them not to let their guard down, stating that if the higher-ups mention this matter, it is not without reason and that they must act with extreme caution. Some ask what they should be worried about since the beginner zone has a level cap of 5 and the entire team is level 5, making them practically unstoppable there. Ju asks whether he is sure he wants to face 9 level 5 clandestines, while Su asks whether it would not be better to simply leave. Jiang replies not to worry because with his current attributes, even if he cannot eliminate them immediately, he can at least guarantee an escape. Moreover, if they do not face them now, they will continue attacking other newcomers from the country. Therefore, instead of only defending passively, it is better to strike first. The clandestine captain senses something strange and orders everyone to be careful, saying that someone is nearby. One of the clandestines detects that it is a level 4 novice, and the partner beside him comments that it is already a miracle for a novice to survive there, let alone level up, suggesting that this might be the one responsible for eliminating the second team. The captain says that this is an important discovery and orders them to maintain formation and pursue him, because capturing him will be a great achievement. They begin chasing after him, and Kai thinks that the situation is not good at all, wondering whether those clandestines really know how to maintain a proper formation. He remembers that the original plan was to lure the enemies so that his partner could find an opportunity to use Earthshaker Stomp, launching everyone into the air and taking advantage of the imbalance to eliminate them. However, now the clandestines' formation is too spread out, and if Ju cannot launch them all at once, anyone left behind might escape. Even so, there is still a countermeasure because if they want to eliminate them all, he will have to take a risk. The protagonist leaps forcefully toward the ground, releasing immense energy and advances, thinking that he may need to risk his own body to fully draw them in. The clandestines stop when they see him running back and ask why that kid is returning. One of them steps forward and asks where he thinks he is going, wondering if he got scared and started running around aimlessly. Jiang dodges the attack but ends up getting grazed and thinks that he is still not close enough. The clandestine mocks him, asking whether he can still run, while others threaten to skin him alive. Kai keeps repeating in his mind that it is still not close enough. The protagonist dodges all the subsequent attacks and the captain asks what they're doing. One of the clandestines replies that everyone there is level 5 and asks how that brat can dodge all their blows. Another says that something is wrong, stating that the first reading was too fast to determine the data properly, but that using an advanced bracelet he managed to scan more accurately, and although he still cannot identify the total attributes, he can now see the agility. which seems to be around 30 points. The captain, shocked, asks whether it is really 30 points of agility. The clandestine replies that he may have read it wrong because even his own agility, despite being level 5, barely reaches 20. The captain realizes that the bracelet rarely makes mistakes and concludes that if that boy really has that much agility, then he was not being chased, but deliberately luring all of them. He says that this is very bad, that they fell into a trap, and orders an immediate retreat. Everyone is confused. Jiang then comments that that bunch of idiots finally realized it, but that now their formation is already completely bunched up because of the misunderstanding, and that trying to run at that moment is already too late. At that instant, Ju unleashes all of his power, causing a devastating explosion. Kai, with a tremendous aura surrounding his body, tells them to bring on the next one and says they can leave everything to him. The captain and the clandestines are finalized in an instant, and the protagonist comments that he finished them all at once. Yuan is indignant and asks how 9 level 5 enemies were eliminated at the same time, questioning what kind of monster he is. The system notifies that the explorer Jiang eliminated 5 level 5 clandestines, looting a total of 2,000 experience points, and that the explorer reached the maximum experience limit of the beginner zone, advancing to the highest level allowed there, level 5. Kai comments that he finally reached level 5 and thinks that eliminating an explorer of a higher level doubles the experience gained, so a level 5 explorer yields 400 points. Nuan is amazed and asks whether he is really level 5, saying that she heard that this is the limit of the beginner zone. Ju asks whether he has already reached the cap, and the protagonist replies that it is nothing special because eliminating explorers yields a lot of experience. He explains that he deliberately left 4 clandestines with low health so that they would hurry up and finish them off, gaining experience. Yuan asks what they should do next. Jiang replies that to improve their combat power before this, he was the one defeating monsters and leveling up alone, but now that he has already grown strong enough, he will lead them in fighting monsters and earning points. And once both of them have accumulated enough points, it will be time to head to the final destination. Yuan comments that it is finally his turn to defeat monsters. Later, already at night as they continue walking, Kai says that they are getting close to the end, so there should be many points to accumulate there. However, the closer they get to the destination, the more terrifying the monsters become, to the point that even beginner zone bosses start to appear, which requires extra caution. Suddenly, a very loud noise echoes and several bodies are scattered on the ground. Su observes carefully and says that they are corpses of beast-faced humans. Yuan notices several bite marks and asks if they were finalized by some powerful creature. The protagonist activates his ocular focus ability and comments that earlier he spotted a golden light in the distance, wondering whether some golden creature had eliminated those 2 beast-faced humans. Nuan asks what kind of golden creature that might be. At that moment, a light appears behind them and begins to approach rapidly. Ju asks what kind of creature could eliminate 2 beast-faced humans and wonders if it is coming after them. The light closes in at high speed and passes by them, making Su ask what that was. Yuan says that it is a golden creature, and that thing really has its eyes on them. The light approaches Jiang, who becomes momentarily confused, unable to react. Ju warns him to be careful, saying that that thing deals a lot of damage and attacks by biting, and that he needs to avoid being hit until it is finalized. The pressure around them increases, and everyone watches closely. Suddenly, Kai appears holding a small animal in his hand, something that looks like a mouse. Yuan asks in disbelief whether something that fast was really captured by him, and Nuan asks if it was just luck. The protagonist asks whether they really think that is fast and says that it is nothing more than a fat, chubby mouse. The mouse, clearly irritated, asks who he thinks he is, to call it that, and claims that being captured was only a momentary lapse. Jiang comments that the little mouse does not seem convinced and asks whether he should let it go and try again. The mouse is released and becomes furious, asking how he dares to look down on it. An intense light explodes around them, and Ju, worried, asks why he let it go, saying that that thing was capable of eliminating 2 beast-faced humans. Jiang grabs the mouse again and releases it once more, saying that it is far too slow for him. Kai keeps grabbing and releasing the mouse repeatedly. Yuan asks if he is really that fast, and Su says that this is unbelievable. After a few minutes of this process, the mouse becomes completely paralyzed, not even trying to escape anymore. The protagonist watches the scene and says that it seems he has tamed that mouse since it no longer even tries to run away. Ju asks, completely incredulous, whether he just captured a pet purely with the speed of his own hands. The protagonist gets excited and comments that it seems he has tamed that mouse, since it no longer even tries to run away, while Yuan asks if he really just caught a pet using only the speed of his hand. Jiang replies that he does not know whether that mouse can be domesticated to become a combat unit, but getting two beast-faced human corpses for free is still very advantageous. He says that the two of them are almost at level 4 with their current experience, and that they need to hurry. Each of them should take one of the corpses, collect them later, and then go look for more monsters to defeat, trying to bring both of them to level 5 before the test ends. Sue comments that the little mouse is very cute, and Ju says that compared to it, his martial disciple seems insignificant. Near the mountains, someone stops walking. A hooded young man comments that after so many days, they have finally reached the end of the beginner test zone, the City of Holy Radiance. The hooded figure climbs the stairs, a gate opens and guards appear. One of them congratulates him on passing the test period, saying that they are responsible for welcoming new personnel and greeting him, stating that he has now officially become a Ghost Star Explorer. However, they explain that someone has already taken first place before him, although the ranking is not that important, and they emphasize that it is excellent for a newcomer to pass the test. The hooded man asks if he really was not the first to arrive and why they believe that. The guards are startled and explain that rankings are based on points, and that having many monster corpse cards can be exchanged for many points. The officer then asks whether he managed to eliminate that many monsters. The hooded man lowers his hood and introduces himself as the second young master of the Huang family, a future high-ranking member of the Black Tortoise Guild, Huang Wei, stating that he has already undergone special training before coming to Ghost Star. The officer is even more surprised and asks about the Huang family, owners of the Black Tortoise Guild, while the guards, equally shocked, comment that the Black Tortoise Guild is among the top 10 in Holy Radiance, so it is no surprise coming from such a prominent family. The officer congratulates him based on his score, saying that he not only took first place in this trial, but can also enter the top 10 of all Holy Radiance. Wei says that this is excellent and declares that for him, taking first place in the competition is only the first step as a newcomer, and that in the near future, all of Ghost Star will belong to him. Deep within the beginner test zone, the protagonist finds it strange and comments that after walking for so long, they should encounter more monsters as they get closer to the end, asking why they have not found any and whether the mouse scared them all away. Nuwon asks how that would be possible since the mouse is so cute. At that moment, an extremely loud noise erupts and a monster approaches. Jiang widens his eyes and asks if it is the shadowless wolf, realizing that there are several of them advancing together with the beginner zone boss of the Holy Radiance Nation, the shadowless Wolf King. Kai says that this is bad and explains that it is the beginner zone boss. So, the reason there are no monsters around is that they have intruded into the boss's territory. The wolves surround them, and Yuan, with tears filling his eyes, says that he has heard that the Wolf King is the strongest creature in the beginner zone and has never been defeated, that encountering it means certain finalization, and asks what they should do now. The protagonist thinks quickly because there are too many wolves, and if he were alone he could still escape, but his companions would certainly have no way to flee. So there is no other option but to fight to the end, and he tells the two of them that they can no longer escape, that the only way to break this situation is to eliminate the Wolf King. They must cooperate to defeat it. Yuan releases an absurd aura around his body, moves rapidly, and strikes the ground with an impact like an earthquake, forcing some wolves back. Jiang tells his partner that since they have reached this point, she should apply the Earth Serpent venom to the weapon, and Nuon releases the venom. Kai uses ocular focus and ghost hand card throw, telling them to watch. The attack flies toward the Wolf King and hits it, but does not even leave a scratch. Everyone is stunned, and the protagonist, indignant, asks whether they really failed to break the Wolf King's defense. The Wolf King opens its enormous mouth, releasing overwhelming pressure, and the wolves charge together, launching an unrelenting assault. Sue says that the situation is bad because the king has ordered the pack to launch a large-scale attack, while Ju asks whether there might be another way. Jiang concludes that the Wolf King's defense is far too strong and that with the pack closing in, they cannot eliminate them all. Meanwhile, the little mouse keeps sleeping until it wakes up, still a bit confused, and realizes who the culprit is. Kai continues fighting the wolves, and the mouse awakens at the peak of its morning bad mood, moves rapidly, and strikes the Wolf King head-on. The protagonist is surprised and wonders if that mouse actually bit through the Wolf King's fur. Jiang activates ocular focus and sees that the mouse opened a wound, which is excellent because earlier their attacks failed precisely because the Wolf King's defense was too high. Now, with the fur torn open, as long as they attack the opening directly, the Wolf King's defense will become ineffective. Kai charges forward and attacks the exact spot where the mouse bit. The mouse falls to the ground and the protagonist realizes that it worked, thinking that as long as they keep using ocular focus to strike the wound, they will definitely succeed. Jiang then continues attacking directly into the opening, causing a massive impact and defeating the opponent. Nuon is shocked and comments that it was done with just a single blow. Ju asks if he really defeated the Shadowless Wolf King, and even Kai looks surprised. The system congratulates him for defeating the beginner zone boss, and the protagonist thinks that he had expected a long fight, wondering if he just triggered a 200 times critical hit. Jiang reflects that it makes sense, since after such a long time defeating monsters without landing a critical hit, it is normal that he would finally get one. Nuon points ahead and tells them to look as the pack seems to be fleeing. Kai asks if the two of them can still fight. Both answer yes, and the protagonist says, "That is great." Now that the Wolf King has fallen, those wolves are nothing but lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Ju tells them to remember how they were treated just moments earlier. Yuen unleashes a powerful attack and defeats several wolves. Su also helps by using her ability, and the protagonist joins the fight until all the wolves are eliminated. Ju comments that he did not expect them to be able to defeat the beginner zone boss. Jiang says that he deliberately left several shadowless wolves at low health earlier, so they need to hurry and finish them all to earn points. While Yuen asks what the next step will be, Jiang replies that now that they have so many points, the next step is to head straight for the finish line. Hours later, Yuen hears a noise ahead and asks whether that is the territory of the Holy Radiance Nation in Ghost Star. Nuon comments that the place is magnificent, and Kai says that of course it is, because the City of Sacred Radiance is the main operational base of the Holy Radiance Nation on Ghost Star. At that moment, the little mouse runs off, and the protagonist says that it is fine, that this is the little one's freedom, and that if fate allows, they might meet again. In the reception hall of the beginner test area, the officer congratulates him for passing the test and introduces himself as Xia Tao, the one responsible for welcoming newcomers, explaining that all who passed have already gathered there. Jiang asks if he can see the ranking of the newcomers who passed the test, and the officer replies that he can. Huang comments that it is a coincidence and says that he did not expect that cheap household servant working for his family would also participate in the trial, then suggests showing the ranking. Kai thinks that he did not expect Wei to have arrived there so long ago. Huang begins celebrating being number one and says that they will perfectly fill the remaining slots from the bottom up, while the people beside him comment that those losers have pathetic scores and are all useless with 0 points. The protagonist thinks about how his sister worked hard for the Huang family, saving money to come to Ghost Star, and how that man repeatedly harassed her and even used his brother's illness to insult him. Ju reacts and advises Huang to be careful with his words, while Jiang says that it is fine. Kai asks everyone's pardon and says that he would like to inform them that the rankings will soon be reordered, because they themselves will take the top 3 places. The hall falls completely silent for a moment until everyone bursts out laughing. Huang asks what he is talking about and says that 3 people from the bottom of the list claiming the top 3 spots can only be a joke, stating that someone there has gone crazy. The partner beside him comments that they need psychological counseling. The protagonist tells his companions not to hide anything anymore. Nuon smiles. Ju taps his watch and says he was waiting for him to say that, and then they decide to put all the cards on the table. They display the countless monsters they defeated together, and everyone is completely stunned. Huang comments that there are many monster corpses, not only beast-faced humans, but also countless shadowless wolves, and he can even clearly see the Shadowless Wolf King among them. Wei asks if this is some kind of joke, how losers could eliminate so many monsters, including the Shadowless Wolf King, and questions how that could possibly be real. Kai says that whether it is true or not, the rankings will show everything. People comment that the rankings have already been updated, so their claims are indeed valid, and Huang, consumed by anger, asks how this is possible, and whether they really placed among the top 3. The protagonist asks if he thinks that is all and says they can also ask about the elimination of clandestines. They display several watches, and Jiang explains that those can be counted toward the score. The officer observes carefully and states that this is a clandestine bracelet from L Nation. Huang says they have been exposed and asks how newcomers could eliminate clandestines, claiming that, as he suspected, they are nothing but a bunch of liars. He adds that there were no clandestines in that trial and asks if anyone there saw any, and people reply that they did not. Wei tells everyone to observe, stating that everyone present can testify that no one saw clandestines, so they must be pretending, suggesting that their scores be cancelled, the case investigated carefully, and severe punishments imposed on them. At that moment, a voice tells everyone to calm down. He states that the appearance of clandestines is indeed a fact, only that there has not yet been time to inform everyone. He says he was also surprised when he first heard the news, but that the higher-ups specifically requested to personally commend Jiang and the other two, which proves that everything is absolutely true. He introduces himself as Liu Jun, vice commander of the city's military region. People murmur, saying that the city's vice commander is present, an extremely important figure, and realize that this confirms they truly eliminated clandestines. Huang asks in disbelief if this is really true. Liu states that the army has decided to grant Kai an exceptional upgrade to his equipment rewards for resolving the clandestine crisis. The rewards for the original second and third places have been upgraded from Class B to Class A, while the reward for first place, which was Class A, has been upgraded to Class S. They become excited and express their thanks. The surrounding people grow indignant upon hearing that the rewards were raised to Classes A and S, asking whether that means they will already receive such excellent equipment right at the start. The protagonist explains that currently, equipment in Ghost Star is ranked from S to F, with F being the worst quality and S the best. Generally, Class B and C equipment are already considered very good, while Class A and S equipment, being extremely rare, are the dream of every explorer. Huang becomes even more irritated and thinks that if Jiang receives a Class S reward, fine, but the problem is that Jiang pushed him from first place to fourth. He says this is unfair and that there must be something wrong with the results, claiming that Jiang's entire family is of low status, and asking why people of low status should be better than him. Kai asks whether it is not enough that the military has confirmed everything and tells him to shut up and stop insulting their family. Wei draws his sword and asks if he said something wrong, claiming that Jiang's entire family is nothing but trash, that his brother is a sick dog, his sister merely a maid, and that he himself is just a punk he used to beat up in a corner, asking if he really thinks he can step over him now. The protagonist's expression turns serious. Huang says he knows that Jiang's sister, the maid, still works for him, and threatens him, saying that if he dares provoke him, he should think carefully about the consequences. Jiang moves in an instant and slashes him. Wei is injured and confused, and the people around are also shocked. Nuan and Zhu watch in silence, completely stunned, while Kai remains serious. Liu only smiles faintly. A young man comments that Huang comes from the Huang family, one of the country's top 10 guilds, and asks whether that boy really dared to make a move against him. Wei, clutching his wound, asks if he truly dared attack him and if he knows who he is opposing. The protagonist, with evident killing intent, calls him a monster and says that he went so far as to threaten his family, asking if he really thinks that does not matter to him. Huang falls silent. Jiang steps forward and states that in this apocalypse, family is the most important thing to them, and that if anyone dares touch them, he will definitely take action, no matter who it is, even if he has to eliminate them. Kai advances once more toward Wei and strikes him directly, sending blood splattering. The system notifies that the explorer Jiang has successfully defeated a level 1 explorer, informing that 6 experience points can be looted and asking whether he wishes to loot them. Kai comments disdainfully whether it is only possible to loot 6 experience points and asks if large families are really that poor. People are outraged by his audacity in defeating the young master of the Huang family, commenting that although a defeat in the game does not mean real death on Ghost Star, the Huang family's Yuanwu guild is an enormous power, making his action extremely bold. Liu smiles and thinks that it is not bad at all, that the boy is a bit reckless but has grit, exactly the kind of person the higher-ups want to get to know. He says that Huang attacked and provoked first, that Kai merely acted in self-defense, and that they should let the matter rest for now. He then states that the 3 of them can go with him, as he will take them to receive their rewards. In another location, Jun says that they have already waited long enough, and that these are the exceptional equipment rewards the military prepared for them, asking them to open them quickly and take a look. Nuan opens hers and realizes that it is Jade of Life, the basic equipment every beginner medic dreams of. Liu explains that the Jade of Life increases constitution and spirit by 15 points each, in addition to granting bonuses to healing and pharmacy, making it a very valuable piece of equipment. Zhu gets excited when he sees that his is a leather armor, and Jun explains that the Blackrock Rhinoceros hide armor increases defense and strength by 16 points each, in addition to reducing damage taken by 16%, making it a balanced piece of equipment for both offense and defense. Su urges the other partner to hurry up and open his as well. The protagonist opens his reward and widens his eyes. The system notifies that the equipment has not been identified and that identification is required. Jun asks whether it is an item that requires an identification card to be viewed, and Zhu comments that if it needs that, then it must be something truly excellent. Liu confirms this, saying that higher quality equipment usually requires an identification card and that, by coincidence, he has a few with him and can help identify it. The system activates and reveals that it is the 9 Tribulations Soul Hunter, an S-class weapon that increases strength, penetration, and agility by 9 points each. Its special effect causes each use of Soul Hunt to increase critical hit rate and critical damage by 10%, stacking up to a maximum of 90%, However, after a critical hit occurs, all bonuses are reset. Jun comments that it is a weapon focused on critical hits and says that novices usually have low attack power, so even critical strikes do not deal that much damage, claiming that this S-class weapon seems inferior to an A-class one. Ju asks whether this is not a form of exploitation against his brother, and Nuon asks whether the equipment can be exchanged. Leo replies that it would be somewhat troublesome, but he can try to submit the request. However, the protagonist says there is no need to exchange it and that he wants to keep this one. He thinks that this is clearly the perfect equipment for him. The damage of his critical hits is not merely double the normal amount, but reaches 200 times. And as long as he continues landing critical hits, not even the Shadowless Wolf King could stop him. However, his critical hit rate is extremely low, and when facing a strong enemy, he could lose his life before landing a single critical strike, which makes exploiting this ability difficult. Even so, each use of the 9 Tribulation Soul Hunter increases the critical hit rate by at least 10%, and on the 9th use, it can reach 90%, becoming practically a guaranteed critical hit, even being considered a perfect artifact for gamblers. Liu says that it is fine, that since he likes it, there will be no exchange, and adds that after completing the test, if he wishes to return to Earth, he may do so. He also specifically reminds him that someone may come looking for him afterward and advises him to be careful on the way home. In the Holy Radiance Nation on Earth, in the city's slums, the protagonist pedals his bicycle and thinks that he did not expect to pass the beginner test so easily, wondering what his older brother and the others will think when they find out. Suddenly, Jiang notices something strange and wonders why such a luxurious car appeared there, thinking that maybe someone got rich, but soon decides to ignore it. Kai opens the door and calls out to his older brother, saying that he is back and asking him to guess how the beginner test went. At that moment, he is confronted by several men in front of him. One of them is Huang Da, who says that after so much waiting, someone finally returned, and comments that he heard Kai performed quite impressively in the beginner trial that day. The protagonist asks if he is Huang Wei's older brother and what he wants. Suddenly, someone pushes him, slams the door shut, and 2 men grab his arms. Huang Da picks up a baton and says that he knows his brother was finalized by Kai and Ghost Star, asking whether he has now been sent for psychological treatment. He states that the protagonist should know that only the Huang family practices bullying, because no one has ever dared to intimidate a member of their family, and adds that if they can prevent Wei from logging in for 1 month, they can block him from accessing his account forever. As Huang Da raises the baton to strike him, something stops him. The protagonist is confused until someone kicks the door open, sending the 3 men flying. Huang Da asks what this means, and a voice tells the boy that he thought someone had already warned him to be careful on the way home, questioning why he did not take it seriously. It is the city's supreme commander, Wei Ying, accompanied by the woman at his side, the beginner test instructor, Su Lan. Huang Da asks why such an important figure would be there, and Wei replies that they are there because of the boy, since he angered the wrong people that day. Huang Da asks if he is there because of that boy and how that is possible, questioning what kind of background he could have. The protagonist, equally surprised, wonders whether someone as important as the city's supreme commander would really be there because of him. Huang Da is taken away by the police, and Jiang thanks them for saving him, saying that he does not understand the reason for it. Ying tells him not to worry and says that he has a purpose in seeking him out, explaining that during that beginner test, he and the others performed exceptionally well. He asks if he knew that after logging out of the game, his 2 partners were invited to enlist in the military, and says that they came there to invite him as well, asking whether they are part of a new batch. Lan asks if he knows what the emergence of a new class means, and explains that there are currently many classes for explorers on Ghost Star, and that every 20 levels an explorer changes class. With each job change, an explorer's attributes and abilities shift, some becoming stronger while others weaken. Many classes end up becoming practically useless in later stages after a job change. And for this reason, in order to find greater combat power, the military has been constantly discovering new classes. She says that what he possesses appears to be a new and powerful class and asks whether he would be willing to join the military as part of a new batch. She tells him not to worry, saying that they are not forcing anything, and apologizes, explaining that before coming, they had already investigated his family's information and knew that his brother was ill. If he agrees to join the military now, they will not only protect his family, but also cover all of his brother's medical expenses. Jiang falls silent for a moment. The commander asks what his decision is, reminding him that he went to Ghost Star to pay for his brother's medical bills, and says that if he agrees, he should report to the army the next day, and the instructor will meet him then. Kai watches the 2 walk down the stairs, takes a deep breath, apologizes, and says that he refuses to join the military. They are confused and ask for the reason. The protagonist replies that he knows joining the military is a good thing, but that applies to classes that have already proven to have strong long-term development potential, such as Ju's Martial Disciple class and Nuon's medical class. He says that in his own case, the situation is different because he belongs to a new class, and asks if they remember when the drunk class first appeared, which was also highly valued by the military. He explains that at that time, the military strongly supported the drunk, who became famous very quickly, but when it was discovered that he had little long-term development potential, he was abandoned, and one only needs to look at his current situation. He admits that this time, he got carried away and let his guard down, not expecting the Huang family to act so shamelessly, which is why they distanced themselves from areas controlled by them as soon as possible. He thanks them for the help, but states that he and his brother have relied on each other for more than 10 years, and are more accustomed to controlling their own fate than to relying entirely on others for protection. The instructor says that humanity is in the midst of an apocalypse, that his new class could bring a great change to all of humanity, something everyone needs right now, and asks how he can think this way. The protagonist apologizes and says that he is not that extraordinary, that he only wants to protect his own family and ensure that they live in safety. The commander tells them to forget it and says that he understands what the boy means, because habits formed over more than 10 years of life cannot be changed in a day or two. He reminds him that his brother does not have much time left, and that in this apocalypse, going it alone is not a viable option. He then proposes a wager. Over the next month, the military will continue protecting his family from harassment by the Huang family, and if he manages to pay for his brother's surgery within that month, proving that he has the strength to protect his family, they will accept his decision not to enlist in the military. But if he fails, the military will cover his brother's medical expenses to help prolong his life. However, he will also have to enlist for observation, and then they ask what he thinks. Everyone falls silent for a moment until Jiang smiles and replies that the deal is on. After that, elsewhere, Kai thinks that from now on, faced with the pressure imposed by the military, he needs to return to Ghost Star as quickly as possible in order to earn the money required for his brother's surgery. The protagonist leaves a letter for his brother asking if he is still working overtime, also saying that he passed the test and that he will return to Ghost Star in first place. Jiang walks away thinking that in addition to that, with the threat from the Huang family, the three siblings can no longer continue living in a place like that, and that it is necessary to move to an area with a higher level of security to ensure protection. Thus, this time, upon returning to Ghost Star, the mission is difficult, but next time he will definitely come back with enough money. In Ghost Star, in the city of Sacred Radiance, Kai thinks that after passing the beginner test, the adventure in Ghost Star officially begins. He has just exchanged his equipment at the trading post and can finally start defeating monsters and earning money there. However, for novices to earn money in Ghost Star, it is first necessary to join a guild because monsters are powerful and facing them alone is practically a sentence of finalization. For this reason, new explorers usually join guilds and form teams to fight monsters, since a guild functions like a large team, and after joining one, novices can follow experienced members into battle and increase their chances of survival. He thinks about checking which guilds he could join and says that he wants to find a guild. The attendant replies that she is sorry, but at the moment he cannot join any, because by offending the Huang family, he is now on the blacklist of all guilds. Thus, if nothing unexpected happens, he will have to face Ghost Star alone from now on. At the selection point on the outskirts of the safe zone of the City of Sacred Radiance, the protagonist wonders whether offending the Huang family really means that no guild will accept him, and whether his adventure will end before it even begins. At that moment, someone approaches and asks if he is having trouble choosing the best area to hunt monsters. It is the explorer Hu Yan, a level 29 seer, who says she can calculate the best location for him, costing only 100 star coins per attempt. Jiang stares at her, turns his back and says that he is an atheist. Hu asks him to wait and not leave, saying they can negotiate 80 or 30, or that she can also offer a free luck reading as an opening promotion, saying that there is no problem at all. Kai immediately turns back and asks if it is free, questioning whether he can still be superstitious now. Yan thinks that he only came back because it was free, considers him stingy, and decides to treat it as practice to refine her abilities. A light is emitted and Hu begins to observe, saying that he is in danger and that if he does not want to get involved in it, she suggests that he go to King's Valley. The protagonist thinks that he truly is in danger, since he risks becoming a target of the Huang family, but the rules within the safe zone prohibit eliminations, so the family cannot act easily against him there. Currently, the preferred location for novices to adventure is the Ashen Plains, intended for levels 1 to 10, but it is very likely that the Huang family will send people there to eliminate him. At the entrance of Taiping Mountain, Jiang walks through the area and thinks that the Taiping Mountain route is frequented only by explorers of level 15 or higher, and that if he went there now, he would certainly lose his life. King's Valley, on the other hand, is an area intended for characters of level 10 or higher, and with his current strength, he believes he can handle it, even if with some difficulty. The Huang family probably never thought to set an ambush there, since he cannot join any guild, so he will show them that he can face Ghost Star alone, and King's Valley will be his first objective. He thanks her for the guidance. Yan wonders why he is going alone to King's Valley, saying that the correct approach would be to go in a team, questioning what kind of place that is, and whether he is not practically asking to lose his life by heading there. She then decides to forget about it. After all, it is not her problem, and only hopes that he does not give her a 1-star review when he comes back. In King's Valley, the protagonist wonders whether that place is really King's Valley, and whether the monsters there are strong, until a noise is heard. A huge monster opens its mouth and attacks the nearby warriors, who fall to the ground. The system notifies that there is danger and informs that the monster is a giant strength black ape. The squad leader says that if everyone fights with determination, they can defeat it, and orders them to advance. They unleash their powers together, causing a huge impact, while Jiang stays hidden behind a tree and wonders if this is how team combat among explorers works, finding everything very intense. He observes that the monsters in King's Valley really do seem strong, and again asks himself whether he could handle them if he encountered them alone. Then Kai notices something. Apes are appearing nearby. The protagonist pulls back and comments that they really did appear, saying that he was just thinking about that and that it could not possibly be such an absurd coincidence. The system issues another danger alert, informing that they are black apes between levels 12 and 14. The Sky Sword Squad defeats the level 11 giant strength black ape, and the team celebrates. One of them comments that they managed to defeat a level 11 black ape without any casualties, and asks if they can already brag about this achievement, while the captain replies that they can. Then they notice something different. Jiang is fighting 3 apes alone, and they wonder if he accidentally trespassed into their territory. A warrior comments that there is someone over there facing 3 black apes. The archer observes that each of them is a higher level than the one they just defeated, and the mage asks if they should go help. The captain says that guy must have tried to show off and ended up attracting 3 at once, stating that he cannot defeat any of them now, and that it is better for them to leave immediately. At that moment, an explosion occurs and the level 12 ape is defeated. Kai is using the new weapon he received and thinks this is great, because the Destiny Pursuit ability increases the critical hit chance with each use, and on the 5th attempt, he finally landed an exceptional critical hit. The captain is indignant, saying that they had to fight with all their strength to defeat a single level 11 giant black ape, while that boy instantly defeated a level 12 one. The other 2 apes continue pursuing the protagonist. Then he looks back and attacks, defeating another level 13 ape. Jiang thinks this is excellent because this time, just the 10% critical hit chance from Destiny Pursuit was already enough to trigger an exceptional critical hit. The captain is even more shocked and asks if he eliminated another one. Kai thinks that now only 1 remains. The captain comments that the level 14 giant strength black ape is the strongest there and does not believe he can defeat it. The protagonist calculates that he has only 3 uses of Destiny Pursuit left, but his mental energy and stamina are almost exhausted, and he cannot keep running for much longer. There is no alternative but to risk everything and try to maximize the critical hit chance before being caught, betting that he can defeat it first. Jiang releases all his power, causing a massive impact. Kai realizes it worked, because by using everything he had, he truly took a gamble and landed a critical hit. The system notifies that he defeated a level 14 giant strength black ape. The captain, unable to believe it, asks if he really eliminated all 3 and comments that it would be difficult even for a team of more than a dozen people to defeat 3 giant strength black apes in succession, questioning who that person is. The protagonist feels relieved and thinks that he did not expect the monsters there to be as easy as he imagined. Now, with 3 monster corpses in hand, it seems that hunting monsters alone is not that difficult after all. Jiang quickly moves away, and the captain comments that the expert has already left, saying that he should definitely approach him if he encounters another expert of that level. He also questions who stopped the team from helping the expert from the beginning, and says that he deeply regrets it. In the Ashen Plains, there is another team in the area, and a voice asks if they saw that correctly: 3 martial arts apprentices, a soldier, and a medic. Someone who is being strangled asks whether that is not the renowned Black Tortoise Guild Eagle Squad of the Huang family, questioning why they would be in beginner areas like the Ashen Plains when they seem so strong. The medic comments that they searched the entire Ashen Plains and still could not find Jiang, and a martial arts apprentice says that he heard she was the last person to see him. The seer, still being strangled, asks why they want him. The warrior replies whether that is not common knowledge, and the partner beside her says that Kai offended the Huang family and that they were sent by the Huang family to take revenge. Yan confirms and says that he went to King's Valley and that they can find him there. The captain drops her to the ground and warns that if she dares to lie, she will be finalized when they return. Two people there comment that the Eagle Squad is an elite team among the Huang family's level 20 explorers and that facing such a powerful team, Jiang is definitely doomed. Hu hears this and says that for ill-mannered people, seers do not tell the truth. Then adds that she just performed a secret divination for them and calculated that the most likely outcome of them going after the boy is their own finalization. One day later, the protagonist remarks to himself that things are going excellently since he has defeated 16 giant strength black apes and finally reached level 6. He thinks that people say the corpse of a giant strength black ape is worth a fortune, and that although hunting them is difficult, as long as he keeps this up, his brother's medical expenses will be guaranteed. At that moment, a voice asks whether he wants to join them on a hunt, and he sees a hooded man accompanied by several armed men. The team captain explains that there are 3 teams hunting elite giant black apes together, and that if they succeed, they will split an elite chest, then asks whether he wants to participate. Jiang asks about the team hunt and says that he does not have a group since he is alone. The leader replies that this is not a problem, as they only need one more person. Near the mountains, there is a gathered group with several level 15 apes already finalized, and someone comments that there are 4 elite giant black apes in that area, guarding a cave where there is an elite chest. However, 4 elite black apes are extremely strong, and since there are only 3 teams, they need someone to lure one of the apes away. The teams present are teams 1, 2, and 3, and the captain explains that if he pulls one of them away, the 3 teams will eliminate the other 3, and then he can return to share the treasure chest with them. Kai thinks about the elite chest and remembers that people say these chests contain many valuable items, far more profitable than monster corpses, so he really needs to find a way to obtain that treasure. However, facing elite monsters that require a full team to defeat, they want him to lure one alone, which makes it clear that they do not intend for him to return alive, allowing the 3 teams to keep the chest that would normally require 4 teams. Having already stepped into this situation, refusing would probably not allow him to leave, so he agrees. The captain tells them to begin, and the warriors advance. The apes notice the movement, and the captain orders the plan to be carried out. The protagonist moves forward, drawing attention and saying that he is there, lures one ape, and starts running. The captain watches and comments that it is not bad, that the boy really managed it, thinking that this way they will have one less team to split the treasure with. An explosion occurs, and Kai keeps running, thinking that they are truly calculating. The attributes of these elite black apes are several times higher than those of ordinary apes, and any normal explorer would lose their life trying to lure one alone. But he is not a normal explorer. The protagonist attacks the ape with his overwhelming power, causing a massive explosion, and notifications appear, informing that the level 15 ape has been defeated. Jiang thinks this is incredible because he did not expect that not even an elite black ape could withstand his supercritical strike, and then decides that it is time to go after the treasure chest. Meanwhile, the warriors continue fighting the remaining apes, and the captain shouts for them to hold firm, saying that afterward they can split the chest. Jiang, for his part, moves silently from behind and enters the cave while the captain is struck in the midst of the battle. Kai enters the cave and sees something shining, thinking that he cannot believe he managed to get in so easily, and that there really is a treasure chest there, which seems to be worth a fortune, concluding that it was worth luring that level 15 elite black ape alone. Suddenly, a liquid drips onto his shoulder and an ape appears, landing heavily on the ground. The protagonist wonders whether there is also a level 20 elite black ape inside the cave and whether they failed to detect it before the fight. The system issues a danger alert identifying an earth elemental monster, elite giant black ape strength level 20. Jiang realizes that the monster has completely blocked the exit and understands that there is no other option but to fight. Kai attacks the monster's eyes, but the ape remains unharmed. The protagonist wonders whether even striking the eyes is insufficient to deal damage. New notifications appear informing that the current attacks cannot penetrate the target's surface defense and cause no damage at all. Jiang thinks that Chase Fate can only penetrate 9 points of defense, which is not enough to surpass that monster's 23 points, functioning similarly to the case of the Wolf King, and wonders where he should attack first since he needs to break the defense to be able to deal damage. At that moment, the ape advances and violently hurls him away. Kai coughs and thinks that it hurts far too much. The gap in attributes is simply too great, and he wonders if he's going to lose his life there. The ape grips him in its hand, and the protagonist thinks that dying in Ghost Star carries a penalty, allowing access to Ghost Star, again, only after 1 month. If that happens, he will immediately lose the 1-month agreement with Commander Wei, and in that case he, along with his brother and sister, will be forced to rely on the military. But at that moment, he feels extremely sleepy. In Jiang's mind appears the memory of when he was little and being carried by his older brother, who told him not to fall asleep and that he had to stay awake. That happened 10 years ago on the battlefield of the Beast God. In the present, Kai is still in the ape's hand and wonders why he is thinking about drifting off to sleep. The ape opens its enormous mouth to devour him, and the protagonist thinks that on that Beast God battlefield, his older brother risked his own life to save him and his sister. So how could he give up now? Jiang begins to release a tremendous aura around his body. The ape throws him into its mouth and seems delighted until it feels something strange, and then its head explodes. The ape collapses to the ground. The system notifies that the ape has been defeated. Kai thinks that he succeeded, because although the earth element black ape has an extremely high surface defense, its internal defense, through the mouth, is not that strong. As long as he attacks the inside of the mouth, there is no need to penetrate defense. Just like when they injured the Wolf King before killing it. After that, the elite chest now belongs to him. Half an hour later, the teams also defeat the apes and celebrate the victory. They say that it was thanks to that boy who lured one of them away that they were not all wiped out, but they believe that the boy was certainly finalized. The captain comments that this is great because if that kid died, there will be one less person to split the treasure. They enter the cave and the captain orders them to advance, saying that the treasure chest is waiting inside. Everyone widens their eyes when they realize there is nothing ahead. The captain asks what is going on, where the treasure chests are, and why the elite chest is gone. One of the warriors says he remembers seeing that boy sneak into the cave while they were fighting, and the captain asks why he did not say that earlier. The warrior replies that at the time, he thought he was hallucinating because he did not believe the boy could survive. The others ask if that means they worked for nothing, and say that even without finding the treasure chest, they still have to pay wages, and that he owes several months of pay. The captain becomes furious and asks if, in the end, they were deceived by that boy, saying that this is completely insane. Elsewhere in King's Valley, the protagonist thinks that he should have shaken those people off by now, and then decides to check what is inside the chest. Jiang looks and notices many items, saying that there are lots of ores and equipment. He thinks that equipment and ores are worth far more in Ghost Star than monster corpses, and that now they are going to be rich. Then Kai notices something else, another piece of equipment. The protagonist puts on the gloves and wonders what kind of equipment they are, whether they are offensively focused, and decides to test them. After putting them on, he feels lighter and stronger and wonders if that equipment increases agility and strength. He decides to attack to test it. Jiang delivers a strike and flames are released along with the attack. Kai thinks that an ordinary flame appeared on the short dagger, concluding that it is equipment that adds a common flame to weapons. In Ghost Star, there are many types of flames, and special flames can cause different levels of damage in combat. Ordinary flames deal very little damage and are almost useless, serving only for lighting or cooking food. He wonders if it is only good for barbecue now. A very loud noise is heard and the protagonist becomes alert, wondering what that sound is. Something approaches, and it is several level 18 apes. Jiang wonders if he accidentally hit them while testing the gloves. Kai moves to attack and thinks that before, he already had difficulty dealing with just one earth element black ape, and now there are 4. He will have to do the same as before, focusing attacks inside their mouths. When the protagonist tries to attack the inside of a mouth, the ape closes it, and new notifications appear informing that it was not possible to penetrate the defense, causing no damage at all. Jiang thinks that this is not good at all and wonders if these apes really know how to protect their mouths when being attacked. The apes chase after him, and Jiang thinks that even if they open their mouths now, Destiny Pursuit is not strong enough to eliminate all 4. He wonders if he's going to lose his life there that day. The flames strike the apes, causing them to take damage. Kai observes carefully and wonders how those flames spread in that way. The flames continue expanding around the apes until a terrifying explosion occurs. One of the apes screams in pain as it is burned alive, while the others can only watch, unable to react. The protagonist thinks that it has turned into a gigantic inferno and wonders what exactly is happening. The flames weaken for a moment, the ape becomes paralyzed, and then an even more violent explosion erupts. Jiang is completely confused and wonders why all the black apes were suddenly finalized, commenting that he thinks he just saw the fire damage jump from 10 to 2,000 points. He wonders if 2,000 is simply 200 times 10, and whether those ordinary flames from the gloves can inherit the 200 times critical damage multiplier, in addition to spreading and dealing area damage. The protagonist reflects that although flames are weak by nature, as long as the monster has no fire resistance, the damage completely ignores defense. If the Inferno burns for 2,000 damage per second, then that equipment is basically an exclusive area damage artifact. If there is no longer any need to worry about penetrating defenses, then he can advance without restraint. That night, the giant strength black apes of Kings Valley experienced the darkest moment of their lives as apes. They had never seen anyone capable of roasting them like frogs using nothing but ordinary flames, nor a demonic barbecue master who left no living prey within a 10-mile radius. The next day, when the smoke finally dissipates, the protagonist comments that this is great. He eliminated dozens of giant black apes during the night and finally leveled up. At the moment, the flame damage from the gloves is already practically unbeatable as area damage against level 20 monsters, and he also obtained 10 elite treasure chests. The enormous pile of black ape corpses will certainly be worth a fortune. Jiang watches everything in silence and thinks that playing solo is extremely lonely, deeply missing fighting alongside his two partners. He wonders how they are doing now and believes that, with the military support, they are probably doing better than he is. In another area of Kings Valley, Yuan is irritated and asks why everything has become deserted, wanting to know which bastard wiped out all the black apes in the area. He says he has not found a single black ape for days and wonders how they are supposed to survive like this. Sue comments that she really misses the efficiency of their former partner, when he used to guide them to defeat monsters with ease. Someone approaches and tells them to stop complaining. It is Li Biao, a level 38 knight, who explains that the reason they defeated monsters so easily before was because they were in the beginner test area and that for their current level as novices, this is already a high-level monster zone. He states that if Jiang had really taken them to Kings Valley, the situation could have been even worse. He says he will spend some time training them there, not listening to complaints, and orders them to continue searching for black apes. The two can only think about how much they still miss Kai. 3 days later, a team kills a few apes, and someone comments that it is strange to say this, but they have been in Kings Valley for several days, and have only encountered those few ordinary black apes. He says that killing some ordinary giant-strength black apes is very easy for them, and the partner beside him comments that young Master Huang ordered them to eliminate that boy, and that this seems like an exaggeration. A blonde youth says that killing one alone is nothing special. They observe the devastated surroundings, and the blonde remarks that a few days ago, they saw a Grandmaster single-handedly eliminate 3 giant-strength black apes. The archer agrees and says that scene was truly incredible. The captain of the other group asks what is so remarkable about that, saying that for people like them, low-level players, it probably looks even more impressive. The blonde continues eating calmly. The captain then shows a photo of Kai and says that it does not matter, asking whether he has seen that person in Kings Valley. The blonde replies that it is a coincidence because that is precisely the Grand Master they were talking about, the man who single-handedly faced 3 giant-strength black apes. The redhead asks if he is blind and tells him to look more closely, saying that this is just a level 5 novice. The captain agrees and tells him to stop talking nonsense just because he is jealous of them. The blonde throws away the apple he was eating and says that if they do not believe him, they can go find the Grand Master, because they just saw him about to leave Kings Valley. The captain asks if that means he is still around. They immediately draw their weapons and tell everyone to move quickly, saying that they have been wandering through that devastated place for days and that it is finally time to give an explanation to the young master and finally eliminate that boy. The archer asks whether they are really going to pick a fight with the Grand Master, and the mage comments that, judging from his aura, it is clear he's a low-profile master who practices seclusion, adding that people with arrogant attitudes usually end up as cannon fodder in stories. At that moment, the exit of Kings Valley is crowded with people. A voice complains about having bad luck and asks why they did not encounter a single black ape that time, saying they heard there was a forest fire and that everything was burned, so now all that remains is to wait for them to respawn before entering again. The companion agrees, saying that in any case, everyone has to wait, since it is not as if someone could have cleared everything alone. At that instant, the protagonist, the very person responsible for clearing the entire area, passes by thinking that after defeating the black apes in 3 days, his level rose to 10, and he obtained 19 elite treasure chests, finally able to return to the city of Sheng to sell them. Suddenly, someone tells him to stop right there. Jiang turns around and sees the captain accompanied by his team, saying that he hid for so many days and made them search everywhere. The people around are shocked and ask what the hell is going on, questioning whether that is not the 5 Falcon squad of the Huang family's Black Tortoise Guild, and how that boy managed to attract the attention of such an elite squad. Kai asks if they are talking about the Huang family, if that is the Black Tortoise Guild, and if they were sent by the Huang family to find him. The captain replies that he is asking the obvious and questions whether he has already forgotten whom he offended during the beginner test, saying that as an insignificant piece of trash, he dared to offend the young master. He states that they are there to take his life. The protagonist moves swiftly and replies that during the beginner test, Huang was the one who attacked first and that he merely fought back, asking whether they are sure they want to attack him. The team advances without hesitation, saying they do not care about who is right or wrong and asking whether he knows what the reward for this is. Jiang begins to release flames around his body and says that since they chose to ignore right and wrong in exchange for profit, then he no longer needs to hold back either. The warriors dodge and the captain comments that not a single projectile hit. He asks whether that small flame was his ability. The girl says that now she truly doubts that the young master was finalized by that trash, because fighting with ordinary flames with such low damage is embarrassing. She thought he was strong and even mocks him, asking if that was meant to light cigarettes for people. The protagonist says that those flames are a bit weak at the moment and asks whether he could increase their damage a little. The flames immediately intensify, triggering a massive explosion. The warriors grow worried about the captain, but end up being burned alive. The others, even while facing flames that previously seemed weak, are also consumed as the damage keeps increasing due to the huge explosion. The system notifies that the explorer Jiang annihilated the 5 Falcon squad and can plunder the team's experience. People around ask what is happening to this world. Kai comments that since everyone was in such a hurry to offer themselves up, he will accept this filial offering. The crowd is utterly shocked and asks what the hell he is, and whether this boy really wiped out the 5 Falcon squad by himself. They state that these were elite level 20 squads, and that if they had not witnessed him eliminate the team with ordinary flames, they would have thought it was all staged. They wonder who this boy is, and when they press their wrist devices, they realize they cannot see his attributes, questioning how that is possible. Some speculate that he must be a great fire mage using items to block external detection, while others agree, saying that must be it, even claiming that he could very well be the god of fire. The protagonist thinks that he leveled up twice and is now level 12, and asks the artificial intelligence why it cannot detect all of his attributes. The AI replies that, due to the gambler's doubling talent, many bonus attributes have increased, creating an enormous stat gap between him and others of the same level, making evaluation via external wrist devices impossible. Jiang asks if that is really the case and concludes that it is good they cannot detect him, as it prevents attracting envy and unwanted attention. At the item exchange post in the city of Sheng on Ghost Star, a voice says that he would like to sell the equipment he obtained. The attendant, drowsy and leaning on her arm, wonders whether another poor novice showed up again and imagines that her performance today will be terrible once more. Kai says he does not have much and asks her to calculate the value. The attendant questions how much someone who looks that poor could possibly sell, until she widens her eyes upon seeing the numerous finalization cards. The protagonist explains that the stack contains dozens of giant strength black ape corpses he obtained, in addition to that batch. Jiang then shows the chests and says they are the 19 elite treasure chests he acquired, asking whether she can still see them and how much everything can be sold for. The attendant, eyes wide, wonders whether this young man is from a hunting factory and why, when others sell items one by one, he is selling everything in batches. She quickly straightens up, grows excited, and tells him not to worry, saying that by coincidence she is the best seller there and will calculate everything that very day, thinking that an important client like this must be secured at all costs. She starts calculating on the calculator, breathing rapidly, and reports that for this important client, the corpse cards can be sold for 10,000 yuan, while the elite treasure chests and their contents can be sold for 170,000, bringing the total to 180,000 Ghost Star coins. Kai is shocked when he remembers that Ghost Star coins are the common currency of that world and that one Ghost Star coin can be exchanged for 10 Sheng coins. Doing the math, he realizes that comes out to 1,800,000, enough to cover his brother's medical expenses. He realizes that the bet he made with Commander Wei to take good care of his older brother has also been fulfilled, making it unnecessary to join the army and allowing him to return to Earth to arrange his brother's hospitalization. At that moment, someone asks him to wait and says it is the same person who asked to read his fortune last time, reminding him that she recommended going to King's Valley, where he clearly had an excellent harvest and even ended up fooling some ill-mannered people. The protagonist confirms that going to King's Valley truly helped him a lot, thanks her, and the seer asks whether he could grant her a small favor because of that. Jiang replies that of course he can, since she helped him so much. Yan says that this is great, that she herself wants to join his team, and asks if he can allow her to fight alongside him from now on. Jiang simply walks away and says goodbye, telling her until next time. The seer asks if he is leaving already and comments that he is really very pragmatic, saying that, as expected, there is nothing new about him. After all, he is a character considered trash by the military, so why would anyone want him? She says she knows he likes free things and asks if he wants the equipment she is using. She says she can give everything to him for free since this might be the last time she enters Ghost Star. Kai asks what she means by last time, questions whether she is also poor, whether she plans to quit the game for good, and whether she no longer wants to make money in Ghost Star. Yan replies that she does want to, but cannot earn anything, and asks what team would accept someone who can only divine things during battle. She explains that back then, when the military classified Feng Masters as powerful professions, she followed the trend, reached level 20, and became a seer. However, the initial talent of a Feng Master only enhances perception of time, location, and harmony, and after becoming a diviner, she gained only the divination ability. Later, when the military realized that seers had no practical combat abilities, they were abandoned. Because they were too weak, no one wanted to team up with them, causing their levels to stagnate. With no one to form teams and hunt monsters with, they could only wander Ghost Star every day. If they returned to Earth to scavenge or do manual labor, at least they would not be left without resources. The protagonist comments that this would be very difficult, saying that his brother's body could not endure that and that she, being a girl, would also not be able to withstand it. Yan asks what she should do if she cannot handle it and says that on Earth she has a younger brother and sister, being the only pillar of the family, with no luxury of collapsing. At that moment, Jiang remembers his older brother who, even exhausted, always said he could handle it. Kai thinks that back then his older brother was the same, wanting to develop Ghost Star and swearing to defeat the beast god in the future. But after adopting him and his sister, he became afraid that no one would take care of them, gave up the opportunity to come to Ghost Star, and ended up pushing his own body to the limit. The seer asks if he wants her equipment, and says that if he does, she will go to the warehouse to fetch everything, since in any case she needs to return to deal with real life. And this time, she intends to disconnect permanently. The protagonist asks her to wait, gives his name, and says that she is logging out now, but not permanently. He says that the next time she logs in, if she can still find him, they can form a team. Yan is completely stunned, starts trembling, and asks if he is serious. Jiang keeps walking and replies that if he lied to her, he would never make money in his life. The seer, with tears filling her eyes, says that he is far too stingy and cares so much about money that if he dared to say that, then it must be true. She runs over to hug him, saying that he is really a good person. Kai blocks the hug and asks what she is talking about. At the slum residence, the protagonist tells his siblings that they no longer need to work because he earned money. The two get excited and ask if it is true. The sister asks where the money came from and whether it is something illegal. Jiang asks what she is talking about and explains that he got everything in Ghost Star. He says that the older brother's surgery can be scheduled for the next day and that she can return to school and study properly. The older brother comments that this time it must have been very difficult for him. Jiang replies that it is nothing, that compared to the effort his brother put into raising two orphans, this is not even worth mentioning. He tells him not to worry because the brother was always the one who worked hard, but now that he has this ability, he will ensure that everyone lives a good life. They toast to celebrate until the phone rings. It is the commander who says that he won the bet and asks if he has time now, informing him that he will send someone to pick him up later to show him something, and telling him not to forget to go. Outside the safe zone of the Shengyao realm, on the battlefield of the beast god, everything is in ruins, with collapsed buildings everywhere. The protagonist comments that after so many years, he wonders if the city where he lived as a child became like that. At that moment, Jiang notices something strange and says that he does not understand why he was summoned. An extremely loud noise echoes, more buildings begin to collapse, and a giant monster approaches. Warriors fight the monster, leading Jiang to ask whether that is an extraordinary creature fighting against the beast god. Currently, in Ghost Star, explorers have a watershed every 20 levels, divided into 6 stages. Explorers from level 1 to 80, although they can become stronger after advancing and undergoing job transfers, have their power limited, being able to use it only within Ghost Star. For extraordinary beings, however, the situation is different. When an explorer enters the stage between level 81 and 121 and becomes an extraordinary being, a qualitative change occurs because the power that previously could only be used within Ghost Star undergoes a transformation. An explosion occurs and the 3 warriors stare at the scene, all enveloped by an extremely powerful aura. The emergence of this surreal power represents not only a huge revolution in the military history of humanity, but also the greatest challenge it currently faces. As the most effective means of combating the beast god, the 3 warriors attack together. The protagonist comments that it is extremely strong, and Wei confirms that it is, asking whether he knew that this was only an ordinary beast god, and saying that they still have to deal with enemies of this level. He states that they have already sacrificed 2 extraordinary beings. Jiang is surprised to hear this, and the commander says that humanity's situation is not good, telling him not to forget to remain vigilant just because he spent a long time in the safe zone. He adds that Jiang won the bet this time, that he will honor the promise and will not force him. As for the Huang family, he says that he personally warned them not to interfere with him. He says it may seem strange that Jiang is receiving so much attention, but that he trusts his own intuition, because he feels that Jiang may become a great powerhouse in the future, perhaps strong enough to help the entire city. At that moment, it begins to rain, and the three warriors manage to eliminate the beast. The commander continues, saying that in this apocalypse, his only wish is to protect his family. After all, joining the army means going to the battlefield, and the battlefield is truly dangerous. He states that the rise and fall of the nation concerns everyone, and that someone must stand up to fight these monsters. Perhaps one day, he himself will fall on the battlefield, but as a citizen of Shang, if he can give his life for the country and for everyone, he will do so willingly. He asks Jiang not to interfere with his choice, but hopes that if the city is in danger in the future, when Jiang has the ability, he can fight for Shang. After recovering on Earth for a few days, Kai returns to Ghost Star, to the city of Shang. The protagonist thinks that he did not expect the commander to have such high expectations of him, and wonders whether he will really be able to become strong enough in the future and why he cares so much about Shang. Jiang decides to set that aside and thinks that he needs to focus on himself first. The giant monkey in King's Valley is no longer a challenge, and it is time to hunt the next monster. The system then displays an elite monster, the Phantom Banshee, described as capable of dealing extremely high damage and instantly eliminating explorers. Its attacks have a fear effect, and it has a ghostly appearance. Fear induction. The Banshee's scream immobilizes explorers within a 10-meter radius, causing intense fear. Ghostly physique. Only attacks originating from a distance of up to 10 meters can deal damage to the Banshee. Kai assesses that it is an extremely powerful monster, because within 10 meters it can instantly eliminate through fear, while beyond that distance it becomes invulnerable. The protagonist sighs, walks away, and thinks that this monster seems far more troublesome than the giant gorilla, and that he will need to find some teammates. The seer is also there, sleeping while standing, completely exhausted. Jiang asks if she has not been waiting in that place since the last time she logged out. Yan replies that she knew he would return, and that she had been waiting for him all those days. Kai says that he will always remember that. The seer asks if they are going to hunt monsters now, and says that she found a very competent teammate for him, calculating that he would be useful in helping with the hunt, asking whether he wants to meet him. Kai asks whether he is really useful in hunting monsters or if he's just a drunk. At that moment, a young man approaches with drinks hanging from his clothes, saying that his name is Ruin Yu and that he is a drunk. The protagonist immediately runs away, saying that he does not want him. The seer comments that he is still so pragmatic and asks him to take the teammate along, saying that he is hardworking and very obedient. Ruin remains watching in silence. Yan adds that the teammate can also cook, give massages, and even said that as long as he is accepted into the team, he is willing to take no share of the profits after joining. Jiang widens his eyes, immediately steps up to Yu, introduces himself, and declares that the moment he saw him for the first time, he knew he was talented, saying that from that moment on, he is part of the team. He states that today, as captain, he will not hesitate to lead everyone in the hunt for the Phantom Banshee. After all, from now on, they are a family and must move forward together. Ruin asks whether the captain is really that troublesome, and the seer replies that he is, saying that if he does not treat someone like family, it is because of the fee, since the captain is extremely stingy. In the Phantom Banshee's territory in King's Valley, the elite monster opens the door and, shrouded in an overwhelming aura, the level 20 ghostly monster begins to move. They observe from behind a bush, and the protagonist comments that the Banshee is several times stronger than the giant monkey, and that if they are discovered, they will be instantly eliminated, so they must maintain absolute silence. He also warns that only attacks made within 10 meters can harm the Banshee, so they need to stay quiet and find an opportunity to approach stealthily. Someone calls out to him, and Jiang tells Yan to be quiet while the seer looks confused. The voice calls again, and Kai repeats for her to be quiet, but Yan replies that she was not talking. Kai asks if she was not the one calling him until Ruin appears, lying on a fallen log on the ground, drinking, calling the captain and asking him to come see what he found. The protagonist becomes irritated, and the phantom monster approaches to attack them, opening its enormous mouth. Jiang asks what Yu is doing and whether Yan did not say he would be useful in hunting monsters, and the seer replies that she said that only casually. The phantom releases its fear-inducing scream, the surroundings become strange, and the system notifies an abnormal status, fear state. Kai comments that this monster is far too terrifying and that he cannot move at all, while Yan says they cannot defeat it and may only be able to wait for death. The phantom keeps its mouth wide open, And Ruin also advances, asking how such beauty can exist and how she dares to ask whether he is looking for her. Yu strikes the beast and says that it must be fate that brought them together, calling her a beautiful lady. He runs his hand over her face and comments that her tender skin is incredibly soft, adding that in truth, the one feeling fear now is the phantom. The system notifies that fear has been dispelled, and the protagonist wonders what is happening and whether he is controlling the banshee. He thinks that the banshee's terrifying scream must also have a cooldown, deciding to speed things up and finish it quickly. The ghostly beast falls to the ground while Yu remains on top of it, saying to let him give her a French kiss and declaring that from now on she will be his wife. Suddenly, a terrible explosion occurs, and after the smoke dissipates, Ruin falls to the ground asking where his wife is. Jiang says that it is already over, and the seer comments that the captain defeated the elite banshee with a single blow. Yu kneels on the ground and calls them monsters for blowing up the wife he had just married, saying she was the only love of his life and that he will never love again. The protagonist asks whether he usually has episodes like that when he is drunk, and Yan replies that he does, saying that he is an incurable drunk, unable to avoid alcohol and prone to becoming even worse when drunk. She goes to retrieve the banshee's elite treasure chest and corpse card, while Jiang thinks that Ruin was also affected earlier by the banshee's fear scream and wonders why, even while affected by fear, he managed to counterattack. He reflects that the most detestable aspect of drunks is the loss of control over consciousness, but that this seemingly fatal flaw might allow one to ignore the banshee's fear, concluding that this means something important. The seer approaches with the chest in hand, and Kai thinks that Yu is simply a natural artifact used to draw the banshee's fear scream. Yan, confused, wonders why the captain is suddenly smiling so maliciously. In another banshee lair, the phantom approaches. Someone moves quickly, and the monster notices. The protagonist orders his partner to advance, and Ruin charges forward. The phantom releases its fear scream, but Yu keeps approaching, asking why she is drooling when she sees him, and whether she desires him, saying that by coincidence, he also desires her. Ruin hugs her, and Jiang thinks that this is perfect because the ability has indeed been refined, and now they can attack up close. Yu, mounted atop the phantom, says that upon meeting her, he fell in love again and that tonight they will rekindle the small flame of love. Kai releases his power against the enemy, causing another explosion. Yu remains standing, calling them damned once more for blowing up his fiancée, before collapsing to the ground, knocking his head. The protagonist says they need to hunt the next banshee quickly before he sobers up, and the seer agrees. Over the next 3 hours, another explosion occurs, and Ruin shouts for them not to blow up his new wife, saying that his 23rd wife has once again been destroyed by those two beasts, while the two of them open yet another treasure chest. Meanwhile, Jiang keeps blowing up ghosts and collecting chests, saying that this is incredible, because he never imagined he could obtain 35 elite banshee treasure chests thanks to Ruin, completely wiping out all the banshees in King's Valley. Yan says she never imagined efficiency on that level. Jiang comments that after eliminating 35 elite banshees, he himself leveled up twice, reaching level 14, and that the only price paid was a broken-hearted Yu. Admitting that Yan was right to say he was useful, Yan agrees and says they can consider this a way to help him develop psychological resilience after breaking up with his girlfriend. Ruin asks what training psychological resilience is, and says that the two of them are real scoundrels. Kai thinks it was not only that because he also collected 2 skill cards in the Banshee lair that allow learning extra skills. The first skill is Rain Prayer, usable by those with strong mental power, capable of summoning a large-scale torrential rain. And when the terrain is suitable, even high-level specialists can create lakes and rivers out of nothing, making it extremely effective in real combat. He says that Yan is already level 29 and has greater mental power than them, so this skill should go to her. Yan asks if they are skill cards and whether that is true, thanks him emotionally, and says that she finally has a skill besides divination, that she is finally no longer someone useless who can only predict during battles, declaring that from now on he will forever be her big brother, asking him to accept this bow from his little sister. The protagonist tells her not to do that because it is something she deserves. Yan, with a bump on her head, raises the card into the air and says she is no longer useless. Jiang thinks that the other skill is a single skill point intended for a hidden class. The system notifies that by using this skill point, it is possible to activate an additional skill for a hidden class, but that this skill can only be used once and will disappear afterward. Kai decides to activate it, thinking that even if it is single use, if it is an exclusive hidden class skill, then it is worth testing. New notifications appear congratulating the hidden class player for activating the extra skill Casino Pickpocket. Once this skill is activated for each nearby explorer who focuses on the player, he will steal 1,000th of the target's total attributes, and add them to his own, but after 30 minutes, both the skill and the additional attributes will be removed. Jiang asks whether the effect of the skill is only that, and the system replies that it is. Kai becomes irritated and questions whether such a precious single-use skill can only steal 1,000th of someone's total attributes, saying that he now has a little over 200 total stats, which would yield only 2 points per person, asking what the point of that would be. Ruin asks what is wrong with himself and says he was sleeping, not knowing why he feels a pang of sadness. The seer asks if he forgot that he lost more than 35 wives the night before. Yu remembers what happened, starts vomiting, and apologizes to the captain, saying that he is being a burden because as a drunk he cannot stop drinking, and that if the captain is not satisfied with that, he can leave the team. Someone approaches bringing equipment, and the protagonist asks what he is talking about, saying that he was a hero that night and that the equipment is his, stating that without him they would probably have been instantly eliminated by the Banshees countless times because he is the essence of that team. Ruin refuses, saying that just letting him join the team was already enough. Jiang insists that he accept it, saying that he will not mistreat a teammate no matter what happens, and that besides, the partner will also receive some equipment. The seer looks at him as if facing a prince, with a flower in her mouth, calling him to go get the equipment as well. The two ask together if this is real and say that they will follow him from now on, in life and in death. At the item exchange post of Ghost Star, a voice comments that another important client has arrived and that this is incredible because that day the total value of Monster Corp sales and treasure chests reached 840,000 Ghost Star coins. The protagonist thinks this is excellent and says that this is equivalent to 8.4 million Holy Radiance coins, more than enough to cover the future expenses of his brother and Yingzi. In the locker room of the trading post, Jiang thinks that not only are their living expenses now secured, but after selling the spoils of war, he also ended up with two extremely useful pieces of equipment. One of them is the Night Hunter trousers, which form a set with the Night Hunter cloak he obtained earlier, allowing stealth and the ability to pass unnoticed. The second item is the Phantom Leather Armor, capable of vanishing at critical moments to avoid fatal attacks. The effect of the gloves has also been identified, and the flames on them truly can inherit critical damage, making them a genuine divine artifact. He feels far stronger than before and believes that even if he were to face explorers of level 20 or above, he has absolute confidence that he could win. Ruin runs over and says that he modified Chasing Fate for him, explaining that he needs to observe the effect first. Jiang looks at him in shock and asks what he is doing, questioning whether this is some kind of revenge for having blown up his 35 wives. The weapon approaches Kai's face dangerously and Ruin tells it to come back, making it instantly return to his hand. He explains that he noticed Kai often needs to recover Chasing Fate during combat, which is very problematic. So he added a powerful magnetic function to the weapon. Now, after throwing it, it is possible to use a magnet to pull Chasing Fate back. The protagonist becomes excited and asks if this is serious, whether this means he no longer has to worry about the weapon's recovery time. Moreover, he realizes that when Chasing Fate is pulled back, it can also deal damage to targets while flying. He did not expect Yu to be a modification genius, and Yu replies that he learned everything by himself, asking whether it is really that good. Jiang answers that he swears to God. At that moment, a sound is heard and it begins to rain. Kai asks what is going on, and Ruin asks whether he is lying to himself. The seer approaches and says that she learned the basics of the rain prayer, although it still does not seem very useful. The protagonist asks how that skill could be useless, and tells her to look at the people around them, who are all hiding from the rain because of her. He explains that if she can intensify the rain to the point of seriously hindering the enemy's movement, they will become living targets, and she will be able to eliminate whoever she wants. Yan asks if this is serious, and whether it can really be that useful, saying that she will definitely practice the rain prayer diligently. Jiang thinks that now that Yu can participate directly in battles and she has the rain prayer, not only he but the entire team has become much stronger. Some warriors pass by complaining about the rain, saying that all the equipment they were carrying to the island got soaked, and asking whether the Huang family will punish them for being late. Kai hears this and starts wondering about the Huang family, so he asks them to wait, calls out to the three older brothers and says that since they mentioned the Huang family, there is something he needs to ask. The warriors mock him, asking whether his family has no internet access, and explain that the Huang family's Xuanwu Guild will take 200,000 people to Everfrost Island to hunt a king-level boss. They say that defeating this boss could help expand the country's territory in Ghost Star, and that besides the Huang family, many other explorers will be participating to eliminate the monsters. They state that everyone bears responsibility for the rise and fall of the nation, and ask whether he does not even know such important news, telling them to hurry up. because if they keep paying attention to an idiot, they will be punished for being late. The protagonist wonders whether the Huang family is really hunting a boss in the name of the country, and whether that means Huang will also go. He thinks that now that the beast god is devastating the earth, every country can only resist by obtaining resources from Ghost Star. However, the resources of Ghost Star are occupied by various bosses, and only by defeating these bosses can territories be expanded and supplies obtained. Monsters in Ghost Star are classified by levels, from the lowest to the highest, and among them, king-level bosses are terrifying existences that require hundreds of thousands of people to fight together. He wonders whether the Huang family is truly leading the Xuanwu Guild to contribute to the country's war effort. Jiang continues reflecting that perhaps the Huang family has truly reformed and become people who care about the world, as Commander Ji said, but the rise and fall of the nation concerns everyone, and someone must stand up to face these monsters. He asks himself whether, since Huang is doing this, he too should go to Everfrost Island and contribute to the country. Ghost Star Island, Everfrost. Kai and his team walk forward, and the seer comments that he comes and goes whenever he wants, asking whether he did not buy any suitable clothes for the cold. The protagonist replies that at the beginning he did not expect it to be this cold. Someone shouts, asking what kind of idiot team they are and whether they do not know that one cannot walk on the lake before the battle begins. Jiang replies that this is also their first time there and asks why they cannot walk. The warrior snaps back, asking what kind of novices they are, and explains that, as everyone knows, the bottom of Everfrost Island is a monster lair, questioning whether they do not know that walking on the ice like that will disturb the sirens swimming below. At that moment, a monster rises from the ground, revealing a bipedal triton of level 22. They are startled and ask what that is. The warriors call them idiots and say that a level 22 triton requires at least a team of 20 players to be defeated. They remind them that tritons are specialists in close combat, and that once entangled by one of them, especially at close range and at that level, the situation is practically a guaranteed execution. The two become worried about the captain. The monster charges forward, and the system notifies that the phasing has been completed. The protagonist comments that he thought it would be something impressive, but in the end, it was just a detail. Jiang attacks the triton, causing a huge explosion. The warriors are shocked and ask whether he simply avoided the inevitable close-quarters combat, saying that a level 22 triton, which would require an entire team, was instantly eliminated. Jiang comments that after stretching his muscles, he's no longer cold. Kai thinks that his current strength is 76 points and that, counting a critical hit, this represents at least 15,200 damage, without even considering the critical damage bonus from Chasing Fate. Even making a conservative estimate based on his current minimum critical damage, his damage is already at a level 20 tier, whether against monsters or against other explorers. The system notifies him to retrieve it into storage, and the protagonist also thinks that neither of the two would be able to withstand a single critical hit from him. The seer says that she collected the Triton's corpse for him. Jiang thanks her and says that they will disembark quickly. Taking advantage of the moment, he asks the three older brothers whether they happen to know where Huang is. The warriors reply by asking what he is talking about and say that they are not exactly older brothers, but rather younger brothers, the youngest of the youngest. Even so, by coincidence, they know where the young master is and can show the way. Somewhere on Everfrost Island, the protagonist thinks that he did not want to involve the two in the conflict between him and Huang, which is why he did not bring them along, and wonders whether those three really said that Huang was there. He thinks that he wanted to talk to him alone, but cannot find him until someone approaches. Jiang looks and realizes that it is Huang. He says that after hearing that Huang came to hunt the boss for the good of the country, he began to see him in a different light and thinks that they can set aside past grudges, saying that he is also willing to contribute to the efforts on Everfrost Island. At that instant, Kai notices something. It is Huang trying to strike him, but the protagonist manages to dodge by a narrow margin. He asks what Huang is doing and says that he came to reconcile. Huang sneers, asking about reconciliation, and says that he was the first one eliminated by him, that he went through so much psychological therapy after that, questioning whether he now thinks they can simply reconcile like this. He states that he knows how much he desired revenge after being publicly eliminated last time and says that the military ordered his family not to touch him, asking how that could be accepted. Wang says that he voluntarily joined the campaign to hunt the king-level boss, and that he wanted to use this merit to pressure the military into no longer protecting him. Jiang asks whether his objective in hunting the king-level boss was only that. Wang answers that it was, but that he did not expect him to come looking for him. He states that, in any case, with the great battle approaching, he can defeat him first and then use the military merits obtained by defeating the boss to atone for his sins before the army. Kai comments that he was overthinking things and did not expect him to still be so petty, but says that if they want to eliminate him, they had better come all at once. After all, the Falcon 5 squad was annihilated by him alone. The warriors respond that he only eliminated the Falcon 5 squad because he had the secret protection of the military. They claim that the young master is at level 10, equipped with a full rank S set, and ask why they would need help to eliminate him, until some warriors ask them to wait and question how that boy is at the same level as the young master, having reached level 14 so quickly. At that moment, an explosion occurs. Huang begins to burn and asks what is happening, while the other men around him also panic, questioning what just happened. The protagonist says that the young master is already doomed and that if he does not want to end things this way, then he should not stand in his way. Huang is engulfed in flames and claims that he has not yet been finished, explaining that his equipment can cap his HP at 1% and prevent instant execution, but that he has already reached the limit. He tells the two of them to hurry up and finish him off, making sure to torture him until execution. Jiang asks whether they really still want to throw their lives away and comments that this is perfect because he will test chasing fate with the upgraded magnetic core. The weapon is thrown, but the warriors manage to dodge and mock him, asking whether he threw so many darts and missed them all, what kind of aim that is, and whether he is not getting scared, with his hands trembling just because they are around level 30. They advance, and Kai, with a terrifying aura around his body, says that he has never heard of that and asks whether the nail that sticks out really is the one that gets hammered. Flames spread and a terrible explosion occurs. The warriors watch in horror and ask how those darts came back, how that boy, being only level 10, managed to do that. One of them, fallen to the ground and completely burned, screams for them to finish him immediately. The protagonist advances and says that it is not over yet. Jiang throws the dart again, striking the opponent head-on, as flames spread around his body and trigger another huge explosion. The other two warriors panic, asking what kind of ability that is, how the damage can be so high, and whether that boy is some kind of weak god in disguise. Huang curses them as idiots and asks whether they cannot see that he excels at long-range attacks, ordering them to attack together, since the two of them only need to get close to him. Huang thinks that he must be of the Eliminator class, specialized in long-range attacks with extremely high damage, but that if someone gets close, he definitely... Another explosion happens. Huang watches and says no. Kai approaches and says that he is a loser, that they are a bunch of losers, and asks what the difference is. Huang, seized by panic, says that this is impossible, that the level difference is huge, and asks how he did that. The protagonist says that he wanted to put past grudges aside, but that Huang really disappointed him, and asks whether he is truly determined to eliminate him. Huang asks what he intends to do. Jiang replies that it is nothing special, but that if Huang wants to eliminate him, he cannot just let it slide. He comments that he heard Huang developed psychological trauma the last time he was eliminated, so this time he will just make that trauma a little bigger. Kai strikes Huang on the forehead, finishing him. A few minutes later, the protagonist looks at the system and comments that eliminating adventurers grants even more experience, saying that he did not expect that eliminating 4 players around level 31 would make him jump directly to level 17. The system notifies that he has received the Bloodthirsty Eliminator penalty for eliminating more than 10 adventurers of the same faction. Bloodthirsty Plasma Eliminator penalty state. While in this state, your location will be detected by all nearby players. Upon eliminating a Bloodthirsty Plasma Eliminator, the experience obtained will be tripled. 10 Tears of Repentance can be used to remove the Bloodthirsty Plasma Eliminator state. Jiang comments that this title is a severe Ghost Star penalty, because everyone will start attacking him, since anyone who receives this penalty basically becomes a walking package of experience. New notifications appear informing about double talent. All rewards or penalties from the system that he receives will trigger a double effect with a 1% chance to trigger Super Double, multiplying rewards or penalties by 10. Kai thinks that his duplication talent can multiply the penalty by up to 10 times, and that losing his life even once could make him lose 30 times more experience, possibly dropping him straight back to level 1. He concludes that this is extremely bad and that he will need to avoid crowded areas in the future, as well as find a way to use Tears of Repentance to remove this state. Somewhere on Everfrost Island at the Huang family camp, a voice asks whether Huang has been eliminated and how they failed to protect him. It is Huang Tong, Huang Wei's father and commander-in-chief of the Everfrost Island campaign, who states that he had already publicly announced that his son and he himself, along with 2 other family members, would fight for the country. Now that his son has been eliminated, he asks whether that does not turn him into a liar before the entire nation. Huang Da asks what they should do now. Tong slams his hand forcefully beside the chair and replies that they must attack immediately, that they themselves will defeat the king-level boss, and once they succeed, they will use military merits to pressure the army into stopping its protection of Jiang. He declares that, until then, that boy will pay the most brutal price. Half an hour later, somewhere on the island, the seer asks the captain why he received a new title, and Ruin asks whether he has become a bloodthirsty plasma eliminator. The protagonist tells him to shut up and not expose him, saying there is no time to explain what happened, but that, in short, he picked a serious fight with the Huang family and they need to leave as quickly as possible. At that moment, an extremely loud sound echoes, and they ask what that noise was. Yu wonders if it is a war horn and why it would be sounding now, while Jiang asks himself whether it is possible that the Huang family has started the war ahead of schedule. Yan points forward and tells them to look, because the ice on the frozen lake begins to crack, and the rumbling continues. Something approaches, revealing numerous monsters, and they watch in shock as something moves at high speed. They are monsters of another species, and among them appears the king-level boss, the frozen Triton Lord King rank, with its current HP still at 100%. The seer asks if that is the boss. The protagonist comments that the pressure is immense, and Ruin admits that he is scared. Tong announces that the king-level boss, the frozen Triton Lord, has been drawn onto the battlefield and that everyone must prepare for combat, saying that if they win this battle in addition to generous rewards, they will help the Holy Radiance secure territorial resources against the wrath of the Beast God in the future. He states that whether now or in the future, everyone must give everything to achieve victory, even if it means being finished, because once the arrow leaves the bow, there is no turning back. And thus, the battle against a king-level boss officially begins. The monsters surge forward. Ruin suggests that they move up, and the seer comments that a battlefield with 200,000 people must be exactly what a fight against a king-level boss looks like. Jiang replies that no, because once the battle begins, the Huang family will not have time to worry about him. So they will stay there to witness the fight against the king-level boss and broaden their horizons. Soldiers charge toward a massive monster, a common bipedal fishman of level 25, and one of them shouts not to be afraid, saying it is just a stinking fish, and that with enough numbers, they can face it head-on. Suddenly, the soldier is dragged away, cries for help, and is devoured, causing the others to grow even more frightened and ask whether tritons really eat people. The seer asks whether a common triton is really that strong against adventurers, and Ruin comments that there seem to be many fishmen. The protagonist confirms it and explains that as long as the boss is not defeated, the fishman army will continue to spawn endlessly throughout the battle, and that the key to this confrontation is not the fight between 200,000 adventurers and the fishman army, but the transcendence and the direct battle against the boss itself. A soldier reports that a team of 8 has infiltrated the boss's area. The warriors begin to unleash their powers, and the leader orders everyone to give their all and adjust their states for peak performance. They advance together, causing a colossal impact. Yan comments that it is incredibly strong and asks if that is what transcendents are like, while Ruin says it looks like the boss is about to be finished. Jiang says he does not like how it looks. Kai activates ocular focus and comments that their abilities seem powerful, but through ghost focus he can see that they cannot even break through the boss's defense. The system notifies that defense penetration has failed. The soldiers are stunned and say they cannot pierce the boss's defense. An attack is launched, and the fishman strikes several soldiers at once, flinging them away, making everyone realize that the boss eliminated all the transcendents with a single blow. The protagonist wonders if that is the true power of a king-level boss. At that moment, someone advances toward the monster and says that his companions attacked with all their strength and lost their lives, asking who would dare advance alone now. The warrior keeps walking as the soldiers shout for him not to go, saying that it is all over and that one more will be finished. The warrior stops and blocks the attack with his spear, leaving the fishman confused, while everyone around watches in complete shock, asking whether that person really blocked the boss's attack. The warrior says that the earlier sacrifice of his companion was merely a feint, and asks whether they truly thought they could be finished by such a casual strike. That warrior is the transcendent Fang of the Lancer profession, bearing the title of the #1 specialist of the Zhuanwu Guild. The system notifies the blessing of the fallen, informing that for each transcendent teammate who loses their life, Fang gains an increase of 25 points of strength. Fang advances and declares that he will bring it down. The boss's armor is shattered, opening a wound, and the soldiers, shocked, say that the Great Master truly has a chance to defeat the boss. The protagonist, equally impressed, comments that he is very strong, since he actually managed to penetrate the boss's defense. Tong asks if they really thought their own guild was weak, and explains that the Transcendents who were finished earlier were part of the plan to increase Fang's power, since he is a force capable of facing 10 men alone. With the blessing of the fallen, Fang's strength has increased by 200%, and now he alone is equivalent to an army of 20 Transcendents. Fang charges forward to attack the monster, and Tong states that as long as nothing unexpected happens in the battle, victory is assured. At that moment, the seer shouts for them to leave. A monster appears behind them, an elite Triton of level 32. Huang Da says the situation is dire and that he has detected a large number of Tritons moving toward the rear of the island. Tong asks if he is saying that the Sea Triton army has been mobilized. Huang Da replies that yes, probably hundreds of them, all elite Tritons above level 35. Tong considers this extremely bad and states that Fang must now focus entirely on the boss, since the battlefield had been stabilized. At present, the battlefield is divided into 5 areas according to the level of the Fishmen, being the normal, elite, general, commander, and boss zones. A large number of combatants have been assigned to face the Tritons in each area, creating a temporary balance. However, if the rear is breached and the battle collapses, this will not only prevent Fang from defeating the boss, but will also lead to the death of all 200,000 present. Tong says that Fang will need at least 30 minutes to defeat the boss and asks how long it will take for those Tritons to reach the battlefield. Huang Da observes, and the system notifies that a large number of Tritons are approaching. The monsters advance at high speed, and an explosion occurs. The system notifies that Kai has eliminated an elite Triton. The seer asks why so many Tritons suddenly appeared around them, and says they need to leave immediately. The protagonist asks whether they are really going to leave and observes that the battlefield seems to be in an extremely delicate balance, and that if that group of Tritons is not contained, the entire battle will be lost. Jiang reflects that although the Huang family is an enemy, and he even feels satisfied seeing them defeated, the 200,000 people called to the battle and the future of the city are innocent. Kai closes his eyes and remembers the commander's words, saying that everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of the world, and that someone needs to stand up to fight these monsters. At that moment, the protagonist concludes that those words were not empty and states that they will not leave. Not only that, he also decides to draw all the nearby Tritons to himself and deal with all of them alone. The two stare at him, completely stunned. 10 minutes later, some Tritons have already defeated several soldiers. One of them, gravely injured but still alive, tells the captain to stop fighting because many people have detected a large number of Tritons approaching from the rear. He explains that if they are surrounded, everything will be lost and that they need to retreat immediately. Around them, several wounded soldiers groan. The captain replies that yes, if they lose their lives, they will not be able to enter for a month, and if they cannot earn money during that period, they will be evicted by the landlord, so everyone must retreat or they will all die. Then he asks that no one run and asks whether they have not noticed that 10 minutes have already passed since they began detecting the Tritons, exactly the time predicted for them to arrive. The soldiers say that none have appeared so far and ask what that means, questioning why none have shown up and whether something transcendent is interfering behind the scenes. The captain replies that this indicates that someone extremely powerful is intervening, managing to contain so many Tritons at the same time, likely an extremely strong elite group of adventurers fighting with everything they have. Meanwhile, the protagonist runs ahead with countless Tritons right behind him. Jiang smiles, stops running, and unleashes his attack, spreading flames and causing successive explosions. Kai comments that he has already eliminated more than 20 Tritons, but that they keep coming one or two at a time, making the process slow. Suddenly, the seer cries for help, saying there are many monsters chasing her, and Ruin is also being pursued by several Triton. The protagonist begins to release even more flames and tells them to leave the rest to him, ordering the two to hide. Yan says that he has drawn in many Tritons and asks whether he really can finish all of them, while Ruin agrees, saying that it was already difficult to eliminate just one or two before. Jiang replies that in fact it is a bit difficult to eliminate one or two individually at that moment, but what they do not know is that compared to fighting a single target, his power is far more suited to crowd control. Kai then unleashes his flames and wipes out 257 Tritons at once. The two teammates are completely shocked and ask if that is really his true strength. On the other side of the battlefield, the soldiers notice a gigantic explosion in the rear and ask what that was. Huang Da informs his father that the Tritons coming from behind seem to have disappeared in large numbers and asks whether the invited military forces have already arrived. Tong questions this and says that it should not be possible since he has just contacted them, wondering how they could have arrived so quickly. Tong then falls silent for a moment and comments that it does not matter, and that since the military has arrived, he should inform everyone to rebalance the battlefield, allowing Fang to fully focus on defeating the boss alone. Half an hour later, Fang continues attacking the boss, and the system notifies that the king's current remaining HP has dropped to 65%. The soldiers cheer, saying that the boss's health has been reduced by 1/3 and that they now have a chance to win, until something moves, and it is the boss himself. Huang Da warns everyone to be careful because with 1/3 of its life reduced, the boss has entered the second phase, Fury. In the Fury phase, the boss's speed becomes so high that it is almost impossible to dodge. So Fang can only endure this wave of attacks head-on now, and whether they succeed in defeating the boss depends on this. Seeing the situation, Huang Da asks whether Fang will be able to withstand it. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.